House will come to order. Members, our prayer today will be given by our own Representative Matt Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, as we've already referenced this week, there were many people across our state that were affected by the severe weather this last weekend. My district saw damage as well. And while the tragedies and losses were significant, I've witnessed the kindness and the goodness of the people of our state as they've served their neighbors in times of need. And the amount of love that's been on display through the many acts of kindness and the volunteer work and through the giving of supplies and meeting of needs of others is truly a reminder that we live in a wonderful, wonderful state with a lot of great people. Let's continue to lift up those who are facing the new realities of a world that's been changed by the storms last week. And I also want to take a moment to say thank you for allowing me the privilege of serving with some wonderful people in this body. I appreciate your dedication to your districts and our state. And I want to say thank you to our staff for all that you do to help us be successful as a body. Would you pray with me? Dear God, our Father in heaven, in whom we live and move and have our very being, hallowed be your great and matchless name. You're the giver of all good things, and without you we would have nothing, and we would be nothing. Father, this morning I pray for those who are dealing with the aftermath of the storms, whose lives have been changed, for those who are without their homes or struggling to put back the pieces of their lives together. God, I pray that you would give them peace and strength to deal with these difficult times. For those who have lost loved ones, we pray for their comfort. For those who are injured, we pray for their healing. And for those who have answered the call to serve their neighbors, we pray for their strength and safety as they continue to work and clean up and put back the pieces of their communities. Father, we know that you can do exceedingly abundantly more than we could ever ask or imagine. So this morning we pray that you would see to the every need of those who are impacted by and those who are responding to these recent storms. Help us all to remember that you are never far from us, that you love us in good times and bad, that our days are few and full of trouble, but that our reward of being your child is worth every trial we face in this life. Father, I pray for each member of the Alabama House of Representatives, for Speaker Ledbetter, for our chairman, for our staff members. Father God, I pray that you'd bless us all with wisdom and courage and with discernment, that we may make decisions that help our fellow man and conduct ourselves in a way that is honorable in your sight. We thank you for the awesome privilege it is to serve our neighbors and our constituents, and we ask that you bless our communities and our citizens of the great state of Alabama. May your Spirit guide our thoughts and actions as we conduct the people's business here today. And for all these things we ask and give our thanks. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Members, today's Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Will Wagner. He is a kindergarten at Trinity Presbyterian School here in Montgomery. He is a guest of the Speaker's office, as in the son of Jade Wagner. Will?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, Will. Clerk, call roll.
Mr. Speaker, Allman, Baker, Bedsole, Blackshear, Bolton, Boyd, Bracy, Brinyard, Brown, Butler, Carnes, Chestnut, Clark, Klaus, Collins, Colvin, Crawford, Daniels, Datcher, Drummond, DeBose, Easterbrook, Ellis, England, Ensler, Estes, Faulkner, Fiddler, Fincher, Fort, Garrett, Gidley, Gavan, Gibbons, Gray, Hall, Hammett, Harbison, Harrison, Hassel, Hendricks, Hill, Hulk, Jones, Hollis, Hulsey, Hurst, Ingram, Jackson, Jones, Keel, Kirkland, Lamb, Lands, Lawrence, Lee, Lipscomb, Lomax, Lovern, Marcus, McCampbell, McClammy, Mooney, Moore M, Moore P, Morris, Oliver, Paramore, Pasco, Pettis, Pringle, Rafferty, Ream, Reynolds, Rigsby, Robbins, Robertson, Ross, Sellers, Sells, Shaver, Shaw, Shiree, Simpson, Smith, Sorrell, Stodhagen, Standridge, Starnes, Stringer, Stubbs, Tillman, Travis, Treadaway, Underwood, Wadsworth, Warren, Whit, Wharton, Wilcox, Wood D, Wood R, Woods, Yarborough.
Fifty-six members answer roll. A quorum is present. The House is ready to transact business. The chair recognizes Representative Warren for special recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the floor privileges be granted to the family of Graham Champion.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, privileges is granted.
Okay, will the family please be escorted? This morning, we're taking time to remember a friend of ours who we've known for years, who's been around for some time, Graham Champion. I know many of you might say, well, why are you doing this recognition for Graham? But Graham and I got a relationship going, and he taught me more from my own history than I could ever know. Whether you know it or not, back in the 40s and the 50s, children were really stricken with polio. There was all types of research that was done during the time, and along with Graham and his Rotary Club, they decided that they wanted to do a project recognizing the work of polio. And in doing that, he discovered that at Tuskegee Institute at the time, we had a hospital, and the name of the hospital was John Andrews Hospital. John Andrews Hospital was the only facility that was treating black kids with polio. And as a matter of fact, the Rotary came up with the Tuskegee Polio Recognition Project. And what they wanted to do, they started working with us at Tuskegee, trying to get the history and to find out what actually happened. And one of the things they found was a picture. And this picture was of Dr. Chenault, who was the doctor that was leading the project, one of his patients, and a nurse. So the Rotary decided, okay, what we're gonna do, we're gonna get a project going, and we're gonna put a monument on the campus of Tuskegee University honoring the great work that they were doing. So Graham and I started working and pulling, and he started the club, raising money. Graham alone raised $90,000 for this project. And on August the 4th of this year, that monument was unveiled. But just to tell you a little bit about what they were doing, the Tuskegee Institute Infantile Paralysis Center was located on the campus of Tuskegee University at Tuskegee's John Andrews Hospital. It was the first of its kind in the United States, and was a focal point for the treatment and rehabilitation of Black population affected by the polio virus. This important treatment and rehabilitation was provided by many dedicated Black physicians, but the chief physician was Dr. Chennault. The monument was conceived to honor the staff, facilities, treatments, and research at Tuskegee's Infantile Paralysis Center in the fight against polio disease. This site was one of the few treatment centers for Black population at the time. Tuskegee University was also a site for the HeLa Cell Project, which played a vital role in the development of the vaccine. And I'm very proud to say that we had two professors, Dr. Russell Brown and Dr. James Henderson, who developed the vaccine for polio. So working with Graham, we really made Alabama history expanded by the work that was done with the polio. And just to tell you, one of the patients that was served at the facility was Federal Judge Myron Thompson. I know many of you probably know Myron. Myron was stricken with polio in his day. And one of the things Judge Thompson has said, that the challenges of polio, as well as growing up in Jim Crow South, going to segregated schools, using segregated water fountains, and being treated as subhuman, made him who he is today. So this was the relationship I had with Graham, and we worked very, very hard, and I invite all of you to come to Tuskegee and see this beautiful monument that we have on our campus now displayed to give recognition for what was done for Blacks with polio. Now at this time, we will have a resolution read.
Clerk, please read the resolution.
Whereas it is with profound sorrow and deep regret that we record the passing of Graham Lamar Champion of Pike Road, Alabama, on February 7th, 2025, at the age of 72. And whereas Graham Champion was the owner of Public Strategies Incorporated, or LLC, a lobbying firm where he represented clients across the nation. And whereas he was held in high respect by past and present members of the Alabama legislature for his friendliness, honesty, knowledge, and willingness to listen to all sides of issues with which he was involved. And whenever possible, he was willing to compromise to reach an agreement. And whereas Graham Champion's service to his clients and to members of the Alabama legislature is well known and respected, his dedication and commitment to civic service is equally well known and held in equally high respect. And whereas Graham Champion was a devoted member of the Montgomery Rotary Club, where he served as president. Additionally, he served the Rotary Club as assistant district governor and district membership chair. And whereas he was recognized as a Paul Harris Fellow for his commitment and hard work to ensure that Tuskegee University was honored by the Rotary Foundation for work developing the polio vaccine. And whereas Graham Champion earned the rank of Eagle Scout in August 1966, he maintained a lifelong devotion to scouting, serving as president of the Tuckabashie Area Council since 2022, and standing as a longtime member of the Council Executive Board. And whereas he was recognized as the 2023 Outstanding Eagle Scout by the National Eagle Scout Association for his service to scouting. And whereas, above all else, the most important thing in Graham Champion's life was his family. He is survived by his beloved wife, Linda, sons Matthew Champion and Katie, and Lee Walden, grandchildren, Landon Champion, Madison Champion, and Nate Walden, and sister Celie Edwards. And whereas, in addition to his family, Graham Champion leaves behind scores of people from all walks of life who called him not just a friend, but a very good friend. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the legislature of Alabama, both houses thereof concurring, that while we mourn the death of Graham Champion, we celebrate his life and recognize his contributions to the good people of the great state of Alabama. And we offer this resolution along with heartfelt sympathy to his family, whose grief is shared by many.
Thank you.
All in favor of the resolution?
First, let me say thank you to Representative Warren for bringing this to the body and the work that you've done to make it come together. I was thinking as Clay was reading the resolution, in my mind, and I think in a lot of people's mind, character is what you do when nobody's looking. And Graham was that man. I can't tell you the number of times that he stopped me in the hallway when we had a rough day or things wasn't going good or maybe things we needed to talk about. And he'd say, Mr. Speaker, everything's going to be good. It's going to be fine. And I never seen a man that had a heart for those individuals that was less privileged than him. I can't tell you the number of times he and I talked because he knew we'd worked on the mental health issue, and he had stopped me in the hall and asked me, how's it going? What do you think we can do? What can we do to make people's lives better? So I think the family can hold to them. If he had that conversation with me, he's probably had that conversation with every member of this body. It wasn't all about the work he did. It was about the people that he loved in this state. And I think the biggest thing that can be complimented after our time is done here is when people say he was a good man and he was a man of character. And I can say unequivocally that Graham was a good man and he was a man of character. Thank you. We love y'all.
We have his wife, Linda, with us. Linda, would you like to say anything?
I want to thank you so much for this honor for Graham. He would be very, very honored, and at the same time, he would be a little bit embarrassed of so much attention brought to him. So thank you so much. Appreciate what you do. Go forth and make good choices.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, colleagues, for participating this morning.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Representative Sellers. The chair recognizes Representative Sellers for special recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that full privileges be granted to Josiah Benson and his family and representatives.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Privileges are granted.
Okay. Go tell them. Yeah, Nick. Oh, sure.
Representative Sellers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to my fellow colleagues. So many times we hear and see and read so many things that are not good about persons within our communities and within our districts and our areas that we represent. And so sometimes good stories and good people and good things, good accolades don't get recognized. And today we have Josiah Benson and Mr. and Mrs. Benson, Josiah is a superstar. He has played in the Michael Jackson Broadway and did over 300 shows. He played Little Michael Jackson. We also have my cousin Al and also my brother, the Right Reverend Robert Sellers, that is here with us as well. Robert is his pastor. And so not only are they good parents, but they are also good parishioners. Amen, somebody. And so we'll have the reading of the resolution.
Ms. Clerk, let's read your resolution, please.
Whereas the Alabama House of Representatives values and celebrates the achievement of its citizens. And whereas Josiah Benson, son of Dedrick and Felicia Benson, has been engaged in musical theater since the age of 10. And whereas Josiah, a previous student of Helena Middle School, in 2022 received 2 outstanding student awards in English and choir. He became an A honor roll student, peer helper, and choir member. And whereas he played the role of Sebastian in Little Mermaid Disney Jr. at the Virginia Samford Theater from July through August 2021. He also played the role of Captain and Little Madagascar Jr. from October through November of 2022. At the Jefferson County Academy of Theater and Dance, he played Gavroche from May through June 2023 with the high school students at Shades Valley High School. And whereas Josiah has recently been traveling on the first national tour, playing the lead role of Little Michael Jackson in the Broadway show called MJ the Musical. When needed, he also played the role of Little Marlon Jackson. And whereas Josiah has performed in over 300 shows to an audience of now over 1.2 million since August of 2023, and is a proud member of the Actors Equity Association. Now therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the Legislature of Alabama that the Alabama House of Representatives does hereby recognize and honor Josiah Benson for his musical theater accomplishments.
Mr. Speaker, I know that he lives in Helena, so that is Representative Lee Holsey's district. She ain't gonna live that down. But he's also from Jefferson County, and so if you would allow Josiah just to hit a few bars of a melodious rendition, we would love to hear that today.
That motion's granted. Well, let's adopt this resolution real quick, okay? All in favor of the resolution, say aye. Aye. It is adopted. Josiah?
All right, so I'm gonna have different sections of everybody clapping, okay? So y'all are gonna start off with and then when I point at y'all gonna do the same thing, and then y'all up there are gonna do the same thing after I point at y'all, okay? Stop, nah, you better save it. Stop, you better save it. When we played tag in grade school, you wanted to be it. But chasing was just a fan. You crossed your heart, you'd quit. When we grew up, you traded your promise for my ring. Not just like back in grade school, you're doing the same old thing. Stop, the love you save may be your own. Darling, take it slow, or someday you'll be all alone. You better stop, the love you save may be your own. Darling, look both ways before you cross me. You're headed for a danger zone. Ooh. When I had you to myself, I didn't want you around. Those pretty faces always made you stand out in the crowd. But someone picked you from the bunch. One glance was all it took. Now it wasn't much too late for me to take a second look. Oh, baby, give me one more chance. Won't you please let me back in your heart? Oh, darling, I was blind to let you go. 'Cause now then I see you in his arms. Ba-ba-bum-bum. Ba-ba-bum-bum-bum. Ba-ba-bum-bum-bum. You went to school to learn, girl, you never do before. And what you plus 2 makes 4, 9, 9, 9. I'm gonna teach you all about love, dear. Oh, ABC, it's easy as 1, 2, 3, or as simple as do, re, mi, ABC. 1, 2, 3, baby, you and me, girl. Little bit, come, just little bit. Teach how, sing it out. Come on, let me show you what it's all about. Reading, writing, arithmetic on the runners of a learning tree. Yeah, education, A, complete, T, is gonna show you how to get an A. Me, you, and the 2. Oh, ABC, it's easy, it's like counting up to 3. See a simple melody. That's how easy love can be. That's how easy love can be.
Josiah, before you leave up there, you might want to come up here this year. You got better control of this chamber than I do. The other thing, I'm glad to see your brother, Patrick, and we certainly know which one's the better looking of the group now. So
It's always the baby. Jefferson County members, if you would like to take a picture as well, I would like to get our Jefferson County members. We also have my predecessor, Senator Marika Coleman, here with us as well, to take one with our superstar. Come on, where you Yeah, they.
Kenneth Pascal, Russell Bedsole, Arnold Mooney, come down as well, please.
Chair recognizes Representative Stringer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was going to ask for suspended rules for a leave of absence for the Mobile delegation for judicial appointment.
Motion granted.
Thanks, sir.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Etowah, Chairman Gidley.
Good morning, members of the Alabama House of Representatives. I want to have your attention just a moment. And I want to tell you, after this morning, if what we've experienced, we're not inspired to do business we never will be. It's been great. I'll be very brief here this morning, but I want to show you one more instance of a good Samaritan and what can happen when people do the right thing. Many of y'all remember a few weeks ago when we come in here, we were presented these beautiful Bibles that were on our desk. We were each one given one of those. 8,000 of those were across the United States and House of Representatives all across the United States. The week that we got those, I took my Bible and as we were leaving, I went to get in my car. I laid that on top of my automobile while I took my coat and tie off. Didn't think about it again until I was having dinner that evening with my family when Reed Ingram gives me a call and he said, "Mark, there's a guy trying to get a hold of you. Your Bible was found in the middle of Atlanta Highway." I would like to say that it's like this because I've used it so much, but a good Samaritan who drove by and said, "I see God's word laying in the highway and I can't let it stay there." But not only did he do that, he went to great lengths to call David Hoke, to get a hold of other people until he finally, through course of elimination, got a hold of me and said, "I've got your Bible." Now let me tell you something. Things happen for a reason. There's a lot more to this story. I've had several conversations with David Hoke, who printed these Bibles since that time. And he said, "Mark, I want to print that man a Bible because of what he did for you. Because he took time to go through a lot of elimination to make sure he found it and returned it." This morning up in the gallery is Mr. Doug Jones and his beautiful wife, Amy. I'm asking him to stand this morning, hold up his Bible that was presented to him. And I want you to give him a good hand. For his taking time. And now he has a beautiful Bible just like ours. Well, thank you, Doug. Your wife, Amy, thank you so much. We recognize you this morning. That's not quite the end of the story, though, because through my connection now with David Hoke and the many times that I have talked to him, he noticed a picture I posted on Facebook of our 104-year-old World War II veteran that Ernie Yarber brought to this floor a few weeks ago. Sent me a message. He said, Mark, I want to print him a Bible. I said, well, we actually had two. So this morning, Ernie and Yarber and Patrick Sellers have two of these beautiful Bibles that they're also going to present to these World War II veterans with their name imprinted on the front of it. All of this happened because Doug Jones was faithful and committed to do what he had to do to find this Bible and return it. So would you once again give him a good hand? And here's these beautiful Bibles that they have. And we appreciate that act of kindness that brought about great things. God bless you. God bless you, Doug and Amy. Man.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Lee, Chairman Lovern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request that leaves of absence be granted for absent members.
Any objections? Here, no objections. Absent members are excused. Chair further recognizes the gentleman from Lee, Chairman Lovern.
Mr. Speaker, I have a report.
House of Representatives, your Standing Committee on Rules begs leave to report that it has carefully examined the Journal of the House for the 15th legislative day and finds the same to be correct. Signed, Representative Joe Lovern, Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the reading of the journal at length for the 15th legislative day be dispensed with.
Are there any objections? Here, no objections. Reading of the journal is dispensed with. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Mobile, Pro Tem Pringle, for purpose of making announcements.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is the last day that you can order your uniform for the softball game. The order forms are on Representative Stadthagen's desk. Today is the last day to order them. With that, Mr. Speaker, I move that when we adjourn today, we leave the journal open to allow the clerk to complete his paperwork, and we reconvene on April Fool's Day, Tuesday, April the 1st at 1 p.m.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion prevails. Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Moore, for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the reason I come to this podium because I continue to talk about the activities that are going on in Washington and the impact on the state of Alabama. I don't know which representatives represented the city of Gaston, but I believe their Social Security office is being closed either as of April the 1st or afterwards. Now, we don't have that many Social Security offices in the state of Alabama. And if you're like me, if they're telling you you got to go in person to be able to file for your Social Security benefits, then those people are going to have to travel a distance. And for those who might be handicapped or for some reason don't have the transportation to be able to go and apply for their Social Security benefits or to get questions answered, and not only that, but you know, when you have your death benefit, that group of people will have to find some means to go to wherever the closest Social Security office would be. I just ask us to be alert, and we are blessed, Mr. Speaker, that we only got one in the state of Alabama that's going to be closed, but it does affect the way our citizens are able to take care of those types of business with the Social Security Department. Thank you so very much and for being patient with me.
Chair thanks the lady. Clerk will now receive reports. Standing committee to receive those reports throughout the day. The House now in position to introduce bills and resolutions. Clerk will call the first uncontested local bill.
On page 34 of the calendar, House Bill number 422 by Representative Blackshear relating to Russell County.
Question for the body's adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. 55 yeas, 0 nays. The BR has been adopted. Question now before the body's final passage of HB 422. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 15 ayes, 0 nays. HB 422 has passed. Clerk, call next bill.
On page 38 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 41 with substitute by Senator Kelly relating to Calhoun County.
Question for the body is the adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 56 ayes, 0 nays. BR has been adopted. Question now is final passage of SB 41. Representative Robertson. This has got a committee sub, is my understanding. You care to explain your sub for us, please?
Thank you, Speaker, for the recognition. This sub would just take the sunset off of it that was put on it in the Senate.
Okay, you've heard the explanation of the sub. Question for the body's adoption of the sub. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the votes. 32 ayes, 0 nays. Substitute has been adopted.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. Question now for the body's final passage of SB 41. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the votes. 13 ayes, 0 nays. SB 41 has passed. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Lee, Chairman Lovern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a resolution.
Clerk, see the resolution.
House Resolution number 157 by the House Rules Committee, the special order calendar.
Move adoption.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed? It is adopted. Clerk, call first bill on special order calendar.
On page 26 of the calendar, House Bill number 258 by Representative Carnes relating to primary elections.
Chairman Carnes, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is one that will affect the way the primaries are held. I was contacted before we came into session about some unintended consequences of what we had done a few years ago when we changed the primary from the first week of June to the fourth Tuesday of May. Nobody ran the calendar out to see, but this next May of 26, the fourth Tuesday, is the day after Memorial Day, and that would be a holiday. And Jefferson County, having approximately 680,000 people with all their precincts and everything they had to do, were not sure that they could do that with the people that they had to have to be set up and ready to go on Election Day at 7 a.m. because there is a lot of work that goes. So this bill changes one word from the fourth Tuesday to the second Tuesday. Now, before I did anything about this bill, I contacted the Secretary of State. They gave me a green light. I contacted Sonny with the County Commission Association, got green lights. They're all in favor. This will save each county a lot of money and is the right thing to do. And I would, with that, Mr. Speaker, I move for the BIR.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Gavan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I already said this to Representative Carnes in the committee. I think this is a good bill. The last election cycle, we all were, or a lot of us were like frantic because the election fell on graduation day in so many of our districts. And so it was one of those things. The only thing I want to add is that I just hope that we, get with, any schools that may have award ceremonies on that particular day. I spoke with our superintendent 2 years ago, and he was like, Wonderland, I didn't even know that the election date had changed. And by that time, everything was set in stone. But I think this is a good bill. I think the time that you're setting it for is a good bill, and I wholeheartedly support it, and hopefully everybody else will.
Thank you very much. It is. It was unintended consequences the way this worked out.
Yeah, it was like, oh my God. So, and I think in my district, I probably had, well, not mine, I never say mine, but in the district I represent, I probably had maybe 2 or 3 graduations on that day. And so actually our Gonsolin or the city, one of them was able to push one of them back a day, but a lot of the invitations had gone out. And so, but yeah, this is a good deal.
Plus, I think the day after a holiday, after a 3-day weekend, I think we would have a much smaller turnout. I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I absolutely wholehearted. You know, when folks are coming back in and, you know, and then some folks with voter apathy are looking for a reason not to go vote anyway.
That'd be true.
Yeah, I just think it's a good bill. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Chair thanks the lady. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Dale, Chairman Klaus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Carnes, we've talked about this to make sure that the runoff is still 4 weeks after the special. I've looked here on page 2, line 51, that it be held the 4th Tuesday following the special election date. And I've talked to the Secretary of State, and he thinks it's the 4th. It'd be 4 weeks.
Yeah, it is 4 weeks.
I just want to make sure that us as a body had talked about this in case somebody comes up next year and says, well, it's you know, since they moved this 2 weeks, it's still, the runoff would still be that other date, and it'd be 6 weeks, but we can say, no, we talked about this. It's 4 weeks, the runoff after the primary election.
Absolutely. I talked, after you and I talked to the Secretary of State again on that. So.
Right. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. Question for the body now is the adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine and record the votes. 99 ayes, 0 nays. BR has been adopted. Chairman Carnes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If no further questions, I move for final passage.
That is the question. Final passage of HB 258. Clerk will unlock the machine and the member will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the votes. 97 ayes, 1 nay. HB 258 has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members.
Thank the gentleman. Clerk, call up the next bill.
On page 25 of the calendar, House Bill number 363 by Representative Lomax, relating to the Fair Campaign Practices Act.
Representative Lomax.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, ladies and gentlemen, this bill currently, under federal law, foreign nationals are not able to contribute to any elections. This would simply mirror this within the state of Alabama, prohibit foreign nationals from contributing to candidates, PACs, as well as ballot referendums within the state of Alabama. With that, I move for the BIR.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Gavan.
Help me understand this. I just want you to tell me what a foreign national is.
Well, a foreign national is an individual that's not a lawful citizen or a lawful resident of the country.
Okay. All right.
Do you have a particular question about that?
Yeah, I want to know what a foreign national is. You want to spar today? We can spar. You know, I don't have no problem. I love that. You know, I told you I was #1 in my debate on my debate team. You know, even when somebody...
Where'd you go? Where was that debate team?
It don't matter where.
It could.
No, it could.
I went to state. Did you go to state?
Uh-uh.
Grissom High School debate team. We went to state.
What is state? Oh, you went to the championship?
We went to state at Grissom High School. I don't know where you went.
Grissom? Where's Grissom?
It's in the city of Huntsville.
Oh, see, I don't know anything about Huntsville. I just know about Jefferson County, the greatest city in the state, and county in the state. That's the only one I know about.
That's up for debate.
I don't know about Grissom. I never even heard of Grissom. Did you play sports at Grissom?
No. Does it look like I played sports at Grissom?
Yeah. You do.
Debate team.
You look like you were a baller. Yeah, you do. You look like a baller. Most ballers look like you. Or you on the wrestling team. You look like you could probably have been on the wrestling team.
I like to run.
Oh, really? Not
And
wrestle.
not just for
Not
office.
tangle.
I'm not so sure this conversation is germane to this bill.
That's right.
Well, he the one went into what school and that he went to the state championship, Mr. Speaker. So I didn't make it not be germane. He did. He the one carried it. And then he told me he was a runner instead of a wrestler. I would think with the size that he is, that he probably could have done it both.
Happy to address any of your other concerns
I was
after
trying,
we pass the bill.
but you wouldn't let me do it. You interrupted me trying to ask the question because you took it at offense. So you're saying to me, I asked you a question about what the bill was about, and you said that it was about foreign nationals not being able to vote. And I think in your dissertation before I came up to the microphone, you said that this was already the national process, and all I wanted to know was for you to define what a foreign national was, and you took offense to it.
Well, it's a non-lawful permanent resident of the United States.
So, in other words, you're bringing a bill for anybody that's not a lawful resident of the United States. So that means a naturalized citizen who has rights here, or somebody that came over across the border. I mean, help me understand. I'm just trying, because it's a lot of stuff. Listen, let me just explain something to you. As I told you down here, I don't care what you do at the end of the day. I come to this microphone and get the understanding. But what amazes me is when you come to the microphone and you ask one question, there are some who get all balled up, their faces shrink, their shoulders are whatever, and then they buck up at you, and it's unnecessary. So I'm going to ask the question that I need to ask now. If you know the answer, you know it. If you don't, you don't. Or if you don't like the question, let's move on. But I mean, that's not cool, and I don't care who it is, you or anybody else. So I asked
completely
the question
understand.
about okay, thank you. I'm glad you understood. I'm glad you took understanding in school. 101. You won. So now, with that being said, does the bill do anything else outside of that?
It mirrors federal law, and it also closes a loophole of foreign nationals contributing to ballot referendums or constitutional
That's what I want to get to. So I want you to explain to me when you say that, because what if someone that could be a foreign national, I may not even know it. Am I going to check their ID? Am I going to call for a background check? So what am I going to do to determine that somebody wrote me a contribution and that they were defined as a foreign national? That's a very important question.
So I assume in the elections that you've run, and
I can't assume. I don't assume nothing down here.
okay,
Go
so
ahead.
well, I know that understanding your ability, you've currently been under the law, so you've followed the law, I assume, because this is federal law, correct?
Well, now, you're going into a tricky question, because now on one end, you all want to follow federal law, and then it depends on what the piece of legislation is that y'all don't believe the federal law should have any effect. So now you tell me, which one are we doing today? Because once you ask me a question like that, then I do become the great debater, because then I'm going to give you proof positive examples of those things that you all don't want the federal government in versus what you want. So now my thing today is, are we dealing with the federal law based upon those things or whatever? I mean, I'm just trying to get the clarity, because when unintended consequences, I just ask simply, if somebody's writing me a check, I ain't sitting up there. Because first of all, we don't get that many checks anyway in the Democratic Party around here. We're glad to get whatever little check we have. So I don't know who writing checks.
This mirrors federal law. So like in this case, if you received a donation and it had an address on the check that was from not in the United States, that's when you would want to do some extra digging and see if that's a check that you can actually receive
But what
or
if
not.
the check, and I'm glad you said that, because if you say a check that's not in the United States, what if the person who is the foreign national has a check that is written and drawn on a check that is in the United States? Because I'm not going against the check, then at that point I should be going against the foreign national, because he's writing me a check that I should not accept. Because what you're saying is the foreign national should not be able to participate in any aspect of our electoral process, whether it be voting, whether it be contributions. So is it at the point that the foreign national signs the contribution, or is it at the point that the check that's presented has the country that does not appear to be in the United States? I'm just trying to get the clarity. I'm not here to put you on Front Street. I'm just asking.
Well, yeah, I'm glad we can both agree that we don't want foreign nationals to be voting or contributing to our elections. So, the fact of the matter is that this is currently federal law. So under that, there's certain provisions. So if you've donated to a federal campaign, there is a disclaimer at the bottom of solicitations for your campaign materials that essentially puts out a disclaimer that foreign nationals are prohibited from contributing to this campaign.
And I appreciate you, Representative Lomax. The question still goes, it's so simple. This is very simple. And I try not to say simple in this house because it was said so many times in 2010 up until it's a simple bill.
I agree.
It's a simple bill. It's nothing here is simple. I've seen a one-page bill leave this house and come back to us as a 30-page bill. Just that simple. So I got what you're saying about the solicitation. At the end of the day, if someone writes a check, and I know folks are always talking in here, and I know the great Mr. Mike Jones is in the house, but at the end of the day, the question is if it is for the purpose of us not receiving contributions for somebody, because you have all types of names that sound foreign. People think my name is foreign. Wandalin, it's J-U-A-N.
Sure.
Pronounced Juan in Spanish, Delin, Wandalin. It's simple, but people call me all kind of names. Gwendolyn, Joe Wandalin, as well as some of the others. But at the end of the day, the question for me is simple. Are we disassociating ourselves, not just with the bank, if it's written on from a foreign bank? Because I can't remember if I've seen a check with a foreign address on it or not. Or the person, because I don't have a problem with the bill. I'm just trying to get the clarity. Because if that's the case and someone comes up, Jaislin Masala, am I just to assume anybody with a foreign name could possibly be from?
If you're presented with new information that provides that it is a foreign national, there's a process of refunding that check, that donation.
Okay, I'm just trying to get the understanding, but what if I'm not provided with that? And then later on it's determined. Am I in violation of the law?
If it's undetermined?
Yeah, if it's not determined at the time that I receive it and then I find out later and it's a few years and someone raises it as an issue.
You'd be refunded. So that's why this is going into effect, so that we have the proper checks in place, such as a disclaimer on solicitation for donations.
Thank you, Mr. Great Debater.
Thank you.
Sure, thanks, ladies. You're recognized, gentleman from Baldwin, Representative Simpson.
Not that good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes.
I just want to commend you for your effort on this. I know you've worked hard. I know you've gone through the process with this, working with the Secretary of State's office, working with everyone to make sure that federal law is mirrored here. We're not adding in any additional sanctions or any additional hurdles or loopholes you have to jump through. We're just mirroring federal law, and I want to commend you for your efforts on that.
That's right. Thank you, Chairman.
Sure, thanks, gentlemen. Sure, recognized, gentleman from Clark, Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much. I was listening to the discussion as relates to foreign nationals and campaign finance and fair campaign finance, I should allude to. And I was reading your bill, and it relates to foreign nationals, any of the following: an individual who is not a citizen, a lawful permanent resident of the United States.
Yes, sir.
How will we know that?
Well, so you'd put the proper disclaimers in place so that they wouldn't be contributing in the first place. So you're not out soliciting foreign national contributions. But it's the same as it is under the FEC today. So if you've been in compliance currently, This just adds so that our state and local prosecutors can intervene from a state and local level.
See, I come to that question because I don't get contributions. I get donations from people that I know, and most, some of the lobbyists around here. But when I look at foreign national companies, corporations, when you think about Shell, BP,
right?
Those are foreign companies, but they have footprints in the United States.
Right. And so you've raised a very good point, and federal law actually defines this as well. So as long it could be a foreign-based company, but if they have a domestic operation, then funds from that domestic operation can contribute to campaigns within the United States. So that'd be the same for this under this bill as well.
Okay. Have you any occurrence of this happening prior to now?
Yes, throughout the United States, this has been an issue.
I'm talking about in the state, in this state, because this is not a federal bill that it's a state law that you're passing here. But have you found any occurrences in the state of Alabama? The reason why you're bringing this legislation?
Well, there's been occurrences that again through ballot referendums, it's been unknowingly. So I mean the fact that it's happened in other states, it could easily be happening here, and we just don't know it because you don't know where the money's coming from.
Okay, so that's what I was wondering. Why?
Right.
You're proceeding. You're being proactive on it.
Yeah.
Okay, not reacting. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Shelby, Representative Ellis, be the fourth person to speak on the BIR.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. I just wanted to come to the podium and say thank you for bringing the bill. This kind of closes the loophole and brings our state laws into what the feds are doing. So I really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you,
Thank you, Chairman.
Chair thanks the gentleman. The question for the body now is the adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 102 ayes, 0 nays. BR has been adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, I ask for final passage.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Moore. Representative Moore. Our question for the body is final passage of HB 363. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record vote. 100 ayes, 0 nays. HB 363 has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues.
Clerk, call up the next bill.
On page 33 of the calendar, House Bill number 95 with substitute by Representative Sells relating to consumer protection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's come to my attention that if you have a new air conditioning unit installed in your home, that the warranty doesn't transfer when you sell your house if it's still under warranty. And what this bill does, it says the warranty stays with the unit and the home. When you sell your house, the warranty is still good. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. With that, Mr. Speaker, I ask for the BIR.
That is questions. Adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote.
Thank you.
Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 101 ayes, 0 nays. BR has been adopted. Representative Sellers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This time I ask for final passage.
That's question for final passage of HB 95. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will. Oh, okay. I'm seeing a substitute.
Oh, yes, we have a committee sub. I'm sorry,
Okay,
Mr. Speaker.
Keir, you care to explain your sub to us, please?
Yes, sir. The sub was all worked out with the manufacturers' representatives, and it basically the bill we just talked about.
Okay, you've heard the explanation of the committee sub. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote.
They
have to include those exemptions in the policy. That's something they're not allowed to exempt.
Clerk will lock the machine, record the votes. 103 ayes, 0 nays. Substitute has been adopted. Representative Sales.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, at this time, sorry about that. I move for final passage of SB 95 as substituted.
That is question of this passage of HB 95 as substituted. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 103 ayes, 0 nays. HB 95 is passed as substituted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, gentlemen. Clerk, call the next bill.
On page 29 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 328 by Representative Almond relating to the Alabama National Guard.
Representative Almond, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is one of the military bills in the military package of bills. And this particular bill deals with legal services in the National Guard. Has two new sections in an existing statute. Basically, the main thing it seeks to do is to establish that when service members are stateside, that the National Guard can continue to provide legal services to them and also to support members of the military as well. Has two new sections here. And so that's just the highlight of what it does. I ask for the BIR if there are no questions.
Question for the body's adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 102 ayes, 0 nays. BR has been adopted. Chairman Almond.
Yes, sir. There is a companion Senate bill, SB 198, that has passed House committee. So at this point in time, I move to substitute Senate Bill 198 for House Bill 328.
All in favor of substituting the Senate bill, say aye. Any opposed? It has been done.
And now I move for the BIR on the companion Senate bill.
Question for the body's adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 103 ayes, 0 nays. BR has been adopted. Representative Almond.
Thank you. And now I move for final passage for SB 198.
That is questions final passage of SB 198. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 103 ayes, 0 nays. SB 198 has passed.
Thank you. And I move to indefinitely postpone HB, what was it? What was the number? 328.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All in favor say aye. Definitely postponing 328. Any opposed? It has been done. Thank the lady. Clerk, call the next bill.
On page 28 of the calendar, House Bill number 361 by Representative Hammett relating to the Lower Creek Indian Tribe.
Representative Hammett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Existing law does not provide for police protection for the property of the Moshis Lower Creek Indian Tribe. It's a tribe that's recognized by the state of Alabama. This bill would authorize them to have employees for police protection to tribal grounds, property, employees, and residents. The tribal land is located in Coffee County. I've talked with District Attorney Tarbox, and Sheriff Bird's all right with it. Mr. Speaker, I ask for the BR.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Moore. While she's making her way down here, I'd like to recognize from my home county, Leadership DeKalb is here today. We certainly are glad to have you in the chamber. Thank y'all for being with us today. A guest of myself and Representative Jenny Shavers. So we're certainly proud to have y'all with us.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For clarity's sake, they don't have any police protection.
No, ma'am.
The police protection is going to come from the city, one of the cities?
That's what it is now, the sheriff's department. It's not in a city. It's in
Okay, is the sheriff department is providing something now?
when they're needed. They have gatherings, powwows, meetings.
Right.
They're wanting to hire their own police force.
Oh, okay.
This is not going to cost the state anything. They're going to pay for it on their own.
Now, that's not, my concern is, is to they just don't have a police department for themselves now, but this would give them that opportunity.
Yes, ma'am.
To organize their own police department.
That's correct.
Okay, just for clarity's sake, I was just trying to get a better understanding.
Yes, ma'am.
of what's
Thank
going
you.
on. Thank you.
Chair thanks the lady. Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Van.
How you doing?
Good, and you?
I don't think I've ever spoken to you at the well before.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here. It's a blessing to be here. It's a blessing every time you get a chance to come in this building. I don't have any questions, but really that's whatever. But I did want to get the clarity. You're creating a police jurisdiction?
No, ma'am. It's just letting them hire their own police officers on their own tribal land, nowhere else.
And I think that's the thing. I'm somewhat confused. We've had these. I don't have a problem with the bill. I'm just trying to get the clarification because I do know we have, since I've been here, we've allowed for several police jurisdictions. So, for instance, 1 year Miles College, we allowed them to have their own police jurisdiction. So when you say they can have their own, even with it being tribal, I didn't know you could just have, say you're going to have your own police on the land, or
On the land, the land consists of about 125 acres. It's a small tribal property, and they're just wanting to hire their own police officers when they have events like the powwows and tribal
So these
meetings.
will be sworn off, APO certified officers, maybe from
Yes.
another jurisdiction?
Same thing as any other police officer, the same requirements. They're just not going to hire somebody that doesn't have the credentials.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't know, and I see what you're doing. I don't have a problem. I'm just trying to get it in context,
Right.
just for my own.
It's just dealing with their property, hiring police officers of their own for their
Yeah,
own.
but in the past, when not with necessarily with anything tribal, but whenever we've done that in the past, we've actually created a police jurisdiction because that was the process. We didn't just allow people to say, well, we needed to be able to hire our own police. This came up not only, this was a few years ago, and I know for a fact, I can't remember if it was it wasn't, I think it was a church. It was a church. And something ultimately, I can't remember if we passed it out of the House, but members had problems because they were just saying, well, we want to hire our own police department or police officers at our church. So then the question became even down to the supervision thereof within it. And I can't remember if the bill passed. I know there was some consternation. So I'm just trying to get the clarity because you would, in fact, if they're hiring their own, they are supervising that process, even though it is on the tribal grounds. And I know it's real tricky with tribal grounds. I mean,
The only jurisdiction they would be allowed to be on is their own property, the 125
exactly.
acres.
That's why it's a jurisdiction. At the end of the day, you're still creating a jurisdiction. I got what you're saying.
Right.
But you are creating a jurisdiction for which they will hire and supervise, and there's someone who will be the head. I don't know if you're calling it the chief of police, over them. I've just never heard it brought to us this way, that we're just allowing anybody to stay in a particular area, whether it be tribal or non-tribal, that you can just hire. Because if that's the case, I can hire in Timbuktu somewhere, and if I want to hire 50 or 10 or 15, but we are, however y'all did it, I don't know. I'm definitely going to have to speak with LSA about it, because you are, however you're framing it, they are creating their own police jurisdiction. Again, I know it's real tricky when you're dealing with tribal grounds, but yeah, I'm just curious about that, because like I said, a few years ago, it gave a lot of folks consternation. And as a matter of fact, it was the Republicans that had the biggest issue. And I can't remember the church. It was a church that wanted to do it.
I don't know.
You weren't here. You
No,
weren't
ma'am.
here. You weren't.
I think before I got here, this was done for another tribe in Mobile County, something very similar to this. So
Okay, so this is something we've passed before,
I think before I got
and
here,
it wasn't defined as a police jurisdiction?
it's just on tribal lands.
Okay, and again, it could be because it is a tribal land. I don't know. I'm just only looking at the mechanics of it, not anything else. So I'm hoping you're right. But like I said, I do know that it was very, very, whatever this was. And I want to say that bill ended up not passing because of these types of questions. And I didn't have a problem with the legislation, but there were others, because it was creating a police jurisdiction. So
That I can pay with
then
gold or silver?
I will
if the
definitely
person
find out,
is
because if
willing
that's
to-
the case, if I can just say, I have a entity in Birmingham right now that was considering requesting a police jurisdiction. So if there's a way that we can do that outside of having to go through and just say that they are able to hire and fire and bring their own police in. So these police could come from anywhere in the county or across the state.
It'd be up to the tribe to hire who they want, but they have to be
what's the-
accredited police officers, been through the academy, had all the training.
Okay, what can you recall? You said it the last time, or the point of reference that you used was from Mobile, or that Mobile did it?
There was another tribe in the state that's done the same thing.
Yeah, I'll find out then, because I'm just curious, and I want to make sure whatever you're setting up, I would have to see what was enacted for them. But yeah, because if that's the case, I'm going to ask Mr. Otney, but I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chair thanks the lady. Question for the body now is adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 103 ayes, 0 nays. BR has been adopted. Representative Hammett.
Mr. Speaker, I ask for final passage.
That's questions. Final passage of HB 361. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 103 ayes, 0 nays. HB 361 has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you,
Thank you,
gentlemen.
body.
Clerk, call the next bill.
On page 42 of the calendar, House Bill number 152 by Representative Rafferty, relating to taxation.
Representative Rafferty, you're recognized.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Speaker. All right. Colleagues, this is the same bill that we brought forward yesterday, that was, or last year, excuse me, that deals with the removing the state portion of the sales tax, state sales tax on baby supplies, baby formula, maternity clothing, and menstrual hygiene products for personal use. And if there are no other questions, I would like to go on and ask for the BIR, but happy to ask and
Next question is adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 99 ayes, 0 nays. BR has been adopted. Representative Rafferty.
All right. I think we have an amendment coming.
Chair recognizes the lady from Cherokee, Chairwoman Shavers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Rafferty, will you yield?
I'm sorry?
Will you yield?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I appreciate you bringing this bill. You know, I'm all about children, women, and seniors, and I just want to make sure that our seniors are covered. So I have an amendment, if you will, to your bill to make sure that seniors are included and with the diapers.
Sure thing.
Clerk, see the amendment.
Amendment to House Bill number 152 by Representative Shaver.
The gentleman see this as a friendly amendment.
This is a friendly amendment.
Okay, you've heard the explanation of the amendment. The gentleman sees it as a friendly amendment. Chair recognizes the lady from
That I
Madison,
can pay
Representative
with
Hall,
gold or
speaking on the
silver
amendment.
If the person
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the lady yield?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make sure I was clear in understanding when you said seniors. There are a number of areas in which we're providing resources or removing sales tax from food. And so tell me exactly what you're trying to do.
Actually, I should have said what the amendment says, and it replaces on line 55 of page 2 with the following. It's referring to diapers, undergarments, designed to be worn by an individual who cannot control bladder or. So it's any individual. A diaper,
So you're only focusing on the diaper portion.
a diaper, that's it. A diaper for any individual that needs one.
All right. Because there are other things that seniors would need.
Yes, ma'am, it's not inclusive in everything. This is just about the diapers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, the lady. Representative Garrett, you want to speak on this floor amendment? Okay. Question for the body is adoption of the floor amendment. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine and record the vote. 101 ayes, 0 nays. Floor amendment has been adopted.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank the lady. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Jefferson, Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You had this bill in our committee yesterday. First of all, I was trying to hit my speak light, and I hit the abstain light on the BIR, and they corrected that. So I supported the BIR officially. I just want to say that appreciate you bringing this bill. You didn't mention the fiscal note. You may want to tell how much this additional tax cut
Correct.
this is for Alabamians.
Yes. So right now, as amended, it would add about 2.5 million to the 10 million that it was estimated in the original bill.
Well, this is additional $13 million in tax cuts to a broad base of Alabamians.
Correct.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Montgomery, Representative Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
I didn't have a copy of the bill. It's a great bill, and I support it. And I appreciate you bringing it. But on the time, I know that a lot of retailers have to change software and get ready for it. When does it go into place?
You mean, like, is there a sunset provision in it?
No.
I'm sorry, I don't
When does it go
understand your
into
question.
effect? When does it go into effect?
It goes into effect September 1, 2025.
Okay. That'll give people enough time to update the software for the adoption. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My concern, I could deal with exemptions for baby supplies, for baby formula. But is it the goal that we take taxes off for everything? Because I don't think we need to take taxes off maternity clothes and menstrual hygiene. We already giving that away free. You know, we give it to the children in the school for free. We pay for that. Some things, yes. Food, yes. If you're talking about your prescriptions, yes. But I don't want to be a society where we don't collect any taxes, because within our society there are those people that don't have, and not saying that they don't work. We have the working poor.
Right.
So we need some taxes so that government can take care of their people.
I agree.
I think that in this one, I'm going to vote for your bill, but I'm just fed up with tax cuts to the point that we don't have the monies, and we might be riding high now. But I've been here when we couldn't even get them ends to meet. And we've had to dip into our investment accounts because we couldn't make ends meet. Some things, yes, I believe we need to help, because it costs so much to take care of children. And we need children in order to have a future.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
So we need that. But when I look at what some of these folks call maternity clothes, it ain't nothing maternity about them. There ain't nothing maternity. They try to get into the skippiest little things. Some people, you always have exceptions to the rule. But I think that we've got to be better stewards and understand that one of the roles that we play as legislators is that we've got to be prepared to take care of our citizens. Only way we can do that is that we can't take taxes off of everything, because right now with all that's happening with people federal jobs being terminated, Department of Education being torn down, the people that work in those departments is your neighbor, my neighbor, and they're going to need help, because that's that middle class that we talk about. So when they can't even afford to keep their property because they don't have the income to do it, we need to make sure we have some taxes coming in that we could provide health care for them, that we could provide just food on the table for them. So, I could agree with the majority on your bill, but I think that when we get down to clothing and what people wear as clothing, and especially maternity, ladies used to wear specific maternity clothes. Now some of them try to get into the skippiest, tiniest little thing that ain't got nothing to do with maternity in the first place. And not being critical, but that's their choice. And I don't think we, as stewards of taxpayers' dollars, ought to be trying to make sure that they dress improper and they cause constriction when they wear those extremely tight clothes. I ain't being judgmental, I'm just making an observation. So I do think that we do need to help when milk gets extremely, baby formula gets extremely expensive. I could go yes for that. But I think that we've gone a step too far when we start talking about exempting the price of clothes, because this is what's going to happen. What you might think is maternity clothes, that pregnant woman might not want to wear. So when they go into a store to purchase, what they purchase might not be defined as maternity wear. But I'm pregnant, and this is what I want to wear. So what do I take the tax off of? What level of confusion do you cause in the average department store? Because women don't like to wear the traditional maternity wear that ladies used to wear. They try to come as close as possible to what they normally wear. So now you're causing some confusion as to what is maternity wear when you go into the department store. Just want to make that observation to you and to understand that we got to really look at some things. We do need some taxes. Thank you.
Chair thanks the lady. Question for the body now is final passage of HB 152 as amended. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 102 ayes, 0 nays. HB 152 has passed as amended.
Mr. Speaker, I've been asked for co-sponsors.
Ms. Clerk, let's open it up for co-sponsors, please. Clerk Lockwood Sheen, looks like we got 43 co-sponsors.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Clerk,
members.
call next bill.
On page 10 of the calendar, House Bill number 234 with substitute by Representative Baker relating to public schools.
Chairman Baker, you're recognized. While he's making his way up here, I'd like to recognize Tracy Turntine. He is superintendent of Morgan County Schools and is a guest of the Morgan County delegation. And give him a big hand. Thank you for being with us today. Chairman Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill, we had this before us. We've already had the BRR. We've already had the substitute adopted. So I just want to remind the body sort of where we are in regards to this bill. With this, we did have an amendment that was proposed by Representative Ream. Representative Ream and I have been in discussion as well on this going forward. But anyway, he intends to withdraw his earlier amendment. So I'll let him make that motion on his behalf then, or for him to be able to do that, but I want to prepare this body. There is a forthcoming amendment that he will offer, which I am amenable to. It's a friendly amendment. That this would mean that the
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Henry, Representative Ream.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my intention is to withdraw the previous amendment and offer a new amendment.
Done. Clerk, see the amendment.
Amendment to House Bill number 234 by Representative Ream.
Yeah, because he's already seen it, but if you got a copy.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson for point of order.
I'm just trying to get the clarity on just the procedural mechanism of what he's doing. That's all I'm trying to do, Mr.
Yeah, he removed this amendment, which is just that's all he has to do. It's not a voice vote or anything. He just has to ask the clerk to remove the amendment, and that's all it takes.
Moving someone else's amendment.
No, it was his amendment.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, very good. Okay, so clerk see the amendment. We got the new amendment. You care to explain the amendment, Representative Ream?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. And Chairman Baker, I appreciate our discussions on this. We've had some time to get circled back from my school superintendents and all that, and they're very supportive of this amendment. The amendment replaced line 39 on page 2 with the following: no later than October 1st, 2030, and subject to annual dedicated school safety funds, each governing. And what that means is that this bill, your bill, would be subject to the annual funding.
That is correct. So although there was a 5-year runway, this would somewhat potentially extend that, because I'll say this, that it is something that's very important to the School Superintendent Association to try to have an annual source of dedicated funding for school safety. That's something I strongly support. Chairwoman Collins, who is the chair of a school safety commission, this was also one of their recommendations, that there be some type of dedicated funding for school safety. And so this falls in line with that. And so this does make it subject to the funding, then dedicated source of school funding annually going forward. So I do accept this as a friendly amendment.
Yeah, you heard the gentleman. He accepts the floor amendment as a friendly amendment. I've got a number of lights on. Does everybody want to speak on the amendment of the bill? Chair recognizes the gentleman from Clanton, Representative Smith.
I think this is addressed to both of them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just am concerned that we're not taking funds that are already being budgeted for other security purposes, that this is going to be a stream of funding that can take care of these emergency apparatuses without pulling away funds that are being used for security officers and other individuals that are useful in the school. So I don't know which one it goes to, but funding mechanism.
Yeah, okay. I think that was well received. Thank you, Representative Smith. Chair recognizes the lady from Madison, Representative Hall, speaking on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm trying to make sure. When we read the bill, we know that it appears that the vendors, this is referring to vendors that may be, tell me exactly what your amendment is doing.
So earlier, we were debating vendors on my previous amendment.
Right, okay.
But, after circling back with my school superintendents, they think this amendment helps them better. And basically, it just states that the bill, it takes effect if it's funded through school safety funds.
If it's funded from the funds from the state level
That's
as
correct.
opposed to from the local system.
From
then.
state money, yes.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
That makes sense. That's
I
logical.
thought so.
Reasonable. In light of the fact that it appears from my reading that the state pretty much, if you look the way I read it, that the vendors are chosen, there are specific vendors that it appears to be already chosen.
Well, I don't want to.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I want to just talk about the amendment. Yeah.
Remember, I said from my perspective, but I like your amendment because it does mean then the state must provide the funding for that.
Yes, my concern was if we're going to give them this mandate,
Exactly.
we need to pay for it.
I agree. Thank you.
Chair thanks the lady. Ms. Moore, you want to talk on the amendment of the bill? Okay. Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson. Representative Moore speaking on the amendment.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do. Just want to let you know. It was getting too messy to keep debating about the Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I think this is for clarity, too. When we're talking, and I think the previous speaker and Ms. Hall kind of touched on my concern, with the state funding for these devices, do we expect additional funds to be put there in order for them to purchase these devices?
Well, that would be a question for the bill sponsor. All my amendment does is say that it's subject to safety funds from the state.
Yeah, but when you're saying subject to the funds, are you under the impression that it could be effective when there's funding there?
Well, it could be problematic depending on how much we fund, because like in my county, one of my superintendents in Henry County, you have a certain amount of safety funds, and their
Right.
priority is always going to be a safety officer.
Right. That's
And
why I'm
so-
asking the question, the way you got it worded, subject to funding, state funding.
Right.
So at some point, the question has to be answered. Do we intend at some point for those safety funds to be increased to allow them to do it? Because otherwise, when we say subject to funding, unless there's some type of a thought process to say that there will be funding with your amendment, if there's not going to be an increase in funding, and like you said, they already got their priorities for the safety funding that they get, and I don't know, but I would hope that, Mr. Speaker, somebody can give us some guidance on, and I understood them to mention Ms. Collins' committee at some point if somebody is talking about how we can systematically increase those safety funds, because they got priorities already.
Yes, ma'am. If you don't care, let me speak on that. When we did the 18 money, safety and technology was what that was supposed to be. The last 2 years, we put safety money in specifically besides that money. So I do think going forward and talking to Chairman Baker a while ago for a lengthy time about that, that's the goal, is to try to
Okay.
do a line item for that.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, the question for the body is adoption of the floor amendment. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine and record the votes. 102 ayes, 0 nays. Floor amendment has been
Thank you, Mr.
adopted.
Speaker.
Thank you. Thank the gentleman. Chair recognizes the lady from Mobile, Representative Warren. Speaking. from Macon. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Baker, somewhere along the way, I didn't get your bill. What does your bill actually do?
This bill would have as a requirement for schools to be able to have the most rapid response for, various incidents. It could be something, it could be sort of what we consider sort of the highest magnitude of maybe an active shooter, or it could be something where it's an incident, a severe incident that has happened. It could be outside on the playground or band practice field or whatever facility there at the school campus. So this is intended to try to provide for the most rapid response. It does provide somewhat of a longer runway for schools to try to implement this. There's already a number of schools, probably of the 150 school systems. I know there's already 25 or more that already have like the buttons, emergency buttons already in place in their school systems. And then a number of unknown number that also have then the mobile app devices, which is also part of the bill as well. So this is just allowing for schools to make their choice, but they need it would require, that is subject now with the amendment, subject to there being annual dedicated school funding then to have this in place by 2030. So basically a long runway, 5 years out. But in the meantime, we're working aggressively trying to get then some type of dedicated source of funding, school funding, which is not currently present in the bill.
Right.
There are avenues for that. In fact, there's 3 things mentioned in the bill: K-12 capital grant program, A&T money, and also then school safety grant monies.
Okay, because I'm glad to hear. I like it. I really like it because when the incident happened over in Georgia,
correct,
I was so impressed with their communication, everybody knowing where to go. I was so impressed that day until I wrote the name of the device down. I wrote the name of the company down that made that equipment, because I said we got to make sure that we are doing the best thing to make sure everybody knows where to go, because I never want it to happen what happened in Texas. I mean, hour before they even got into the facility, nobody knows where this one is, the other one was. So when that incident happened in Georgia, I took it down, and I think I might have told Representative Garrett somewhere along the way, we need to put the money in the budget to adequately fund every school system in the state so they can have a device. And I never tried to check the price of it, but I'm pretty sure that somewhere along the way, as somebody, the schools, the principals, or somebody is checking the system. So I think it's a good bill, a good suggestion. It's something that we really need to have in place so that we can control our situations when they get out in the campus. So
thank you so much. I agree totally.
Sure, thanks, lady. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Mobile, Representative Bracy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield?
Sure.
Hopefully I don't take all my time today, because I'm more interested in the last bill on the calendar today than this one. But how many devices are we talking about? Because we have different size schools. We have 1A schools.
Two primary avenues of technology of which I'm aware. I mean, at this point in time, that could qualify under this, and that would be one would be what we call emergency buttons, and then that would be worn like on a lanyard around their neck, and this would be the designated personnel of the schools, whether it be the lunchroom staff, or whether it be teachers, or whether it be custodians or maintenance workers out cutting grass. But the other would be the mobile device. Then also there are apps out there as well that also have if they qualify then under the bill, then that could also be utilized.
Okay, so we're talking about two different things. We're talking about in like a handheld type mobile device, and we're talking about like a panic button situation.
Yeah, so that is correct. So those are two avenues to accomplish what is desired, and that is to try to get both the school officials and or then first responders there to an incident, whether it be, and I'll give an example. I have 3 school systems, 2 county systems, 1 city system in my footprint. And anyway, 2 of those 3 already have something in place and have had in place. In regards to this, there was a child choking on the playground at one of the county school systems, and they were able to quickly get response then to that. I mean, and the rapid response then helped save. Over in Georgia earlier this year, I think it was one that Representative Warren was just referencing, there was a school shooting. There was actually 4 deaths in that, 2 students and 2 teachers. But because the emergency button that was pressed, they were able to save many more countless lives that might have been lost had they not been able to get that quick, rapid response.
Okay, so like for instance, let's say if it's a school of 500 students, how many of these devices would be in that particular school?
That's where it's left. That's where the locals make that decision to designate their employees. So that's one of the things I felt like that I did not want to mandate in regards to that, making that decision. I would hope that as many of their employees that the local system would see fit to have that device, whether it be the mobile device or the button, that they would have that. So they need to be the eyes and ears that are out there across the entire campus. So
Right.
whether it be something like a active shooter or whether it be simply a really, horrible accident that has occurred on a practice field or out on the
Right.
playground.
Because I guess what my concern is, we know that a lot of our campuses are large. Some of them are spread out. You may have a shop area. You may have like welding classes over
Right.
here. You got different areas of the school where students can be isolated. And so the question is kind of, if you're not in the area, these devices are just really ineffective. You know, like what's the chances of if someone come in and take over a classroom, probably the only person dealing with that classroom is the teacher inside of that classroom. The administrators, other people, they wouldn't have immediate knowledge of what's going on within that particular classroom at that particular time, which leads me to just wonder, what's the effectiveness of the device if it's only a few people with access, right? Like because I would automatically think people would say administrators would get it, probably one of the coaches, the PE teacher, some of those would be kind of the first people to get it. But what about like everybody else? Like those people wouldn't be on C Hall or D Hall and you know what I'm saying? It just kind of seemed restrictive. It seemed a little restrictive in a way as far as being able to get the threat out, get the information about the threat out to the authorities so they can come in. Because we're already looking at, in other legislation, taking all the cell phones out of the classrooms from the kids. So if we're taking all the cell phones out of the classroom of the kids, then they can't call out if something happened. Now we're saying that we want to replace those with these electronic mobile devices or these panic buttons, which it'll be a selective group of people to have them. Because one thing that we know, like you have 3 school districts in your district, I have 4. And 2 of my school districts can probably afford to get as many of these as they want to, but 2 of them I know can't. And so they'll be kind of limited on who can get access to these devices. So you see where I'm kind of coming from with
But that goes back to funding. So funding, that's why we continue. You've already heard at the well here today, a lot of advocacy, which me being one of those as well, really pushing strongly for dedicated sources of school funding to be annual, which we don't have right now. And we do have avenues of school funding available right now. I've already mentioned 3 that are included in the bill already.
Right.
But it's not like this is a dedicated annual source, although there's avenues there available. So that would be, and to your point, restrictive, no. My advocacy would be, although not mandated within the bill, but the locals make that decision, would be that as many of the school employees that you could and would have those in there, and that way you're not having, hopefully you would have the maintenance worker cutting grass before that person goes to the classroom that you mentioned, taking over the classroom. Hopefully there'd be eyes and ears, whether it be a cafeteria worker, could be a custodian in the hallways. So I would hope that that would be something that they would do, I mean, well in advance of that. And that's why I feel very strongly this provides the most rapid response for the various multitude of incidents that might occur.
So the LEA is not going to be responsible for paying for this. This is going to be something that the state is going to.
That's what. So with the amendment added on, this would make it so that it's state. I mean, that is subject to state funding. Basically, is what it.
Okay. And how do we? Is that per pupil, or how do we decide that?
No, that's once again that's something that's not yet. I mean, in place. So we're working aggressively towards that. So.
Okay.
So that's something that, in fact, Chairwoman Collins and I, that's one of the things that we already are meeting with upstairs. That's where the education budget begins this year. So we hope to be able to accomplish that maybe as soon as this year, that we have a dedicated source of funding going forward. There are already some avenues available, but we'd like to get a dedicated source annually.
Okay. Now, so state charter schools will have to participate in this as well, right?
That is correct.
Okay, now what about other schools where state funding are diverted, like private schools? Will they have to participate in this?
No, this does not cover, and that, to your point then, I'm not sure exactly what funds that you're referring to, other than the fact of maybe the parents, if you're referring back to the Choose Act. Then
Right, those are the funds I'm talking about.
So,
the funds that would traditionally go to public schools that the parents have the option to divert those.
Well, see, the private schools they would not be able to be recipients of these monies, that is, such as the dedicated school safety monies and all. So those schools would not be subject to this legislation, the private schools.
Okay. Okay, now, have we thought about, so have we came up with the fiscal note, or what we think it would be?
No, once again, because it's a 5-year sort of runway originally on the bill, but now with the amendment added on, it could extend it even longer because there's not
and that's
subject
that's the 2030.
Right now it's at October 1, 2030.
Right.
And all, and there's already a number of schools already have this in place, but this would also be with these other 3 sources of funding.
Okay.
Other schools may continue to become then schools that are working towards that.
Right.
But not only that, it now would be subject, it could go beyond the 2030 date if there's not the annual dedicated source of school safety funding.
Okay, I think it's fair to say that some schools in the state are better funded than others. And I think we know that to be a fact. What are we going to do to make sure that some of our more struggling schools have the same resources that some of our other schools have? You know, and I don't want to call districts names because, you know, we have some more struggling districts.
Right.
To make sure that they have everything that they need to be safe and protected as well.
Yeah. Well, we would just have to continue.
Gentleman's time has expired. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Washington, Representative Easterbrook.
Will the gentleman yield?
Yeah, certainly.
This will still require 2 levels, right?
Require.
First, to have a system that will identify the floor level.
Can you
that they're
speak
on.
into the mic a little bit more, please?
It would require them to pay for the system that would tell them what floor level they're on?
Yeah, according to the bill, to try to get the most rapid response then, there would be a need for, trying to get the exact location, whether it be outside of a building structure or whether it be out in the playground, practice fields, whether it be room or floor, yes, so it would be the exact location.
But I have 19 schools and not one has a second floor. They're all on the same level.
Yeah, well, that would, still, that makes it even easier to trying to get that exact location.
Yes, but they have to pay for a more expensive system that they're not going to use.
No, this, as long as they're having the exact location, then that these vendors would qualify. I mean, the State Department would make those determinations.
But
I think
there's cheaper ways to get that, right? If
get
you're
the
not
exact
trying to
location?
identify it to the floor level,
I think for the most rapid response, we want to try to get to that specific location, the most exact location. So to accomplish that, then that's the criteria in the bill.
but it would require them to purchase a more expensive system to identify it at the floor level, but everything's on the same level. So, and they already have these systems in place now that with the panic button. So we don't even have school resource officers. It looks like to me we're getting the cart ahead of the horse. We need somebody there with a gun first before we start worrying about what floor level
Well,
people are.
I'm in strong support of the school resource officers at all the campuses at all possible. That's one of the things that we've attempted to try to have a strong collaboration between the local officials, whether it be county, whether it be municipal, as well to be engaged with their school systems in regards to trying to accommodate and try to provide for school resource officers. So I'm very much with you on that. That's a needed component. There's a lot of layers for school safety. It's just felt that this would be something that regardless of the dynamics of any school campus, then this could provide for the most rapid response for an incident, whether it be on the playground, where I know Escambia County Schools, which already had the buttons in place, is their avenue. They had a child choking on a rock, and they were able to get rapid response there. The incident in Georgia, you had then a active shooter. Their button was pressed, and although 4 lives were lost, there were many other lives that were saved because of the rapid response by first responders.
But still, the second floor level does not apply to anything in my school systems.
But there are schools, but to that point, there are schools across the state, a number of schools that do have more than one level. So this is trying to get the exact location so that there can be the most rapid response, whatever.
Oh, I would agree that those schools need that, but mine don't. Mine don't even know that they're on the second floor when there is no second floor. So why would they change what they have and go to a more expensive system rather than use the money, hopefully, for a school resource officer?
That it may not require that they have to go to a more expensive system. I think that would be, I mean, we'll have to, as this bill plays out and the State Department then chooses their list of vendors and such, it might not would require that.
If it's going to require them to use a system that identifies multiple floor levels, it's going to be more expensive. And it's than just a GPS location.
So is this something that's already in place in your schools, or some of your? Is this already in place with some of your schools?
Yes.
So is it the button, or are they using mobile devices?
The button.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so.
And they're saying we need school resource officers, not this.
Yeah, but I'm saying, does that not? I mean, do you know for a fact then that doesn't is not precise? With what the technology is not already a part of what they're paying for? Do you know that?
No, the technology is part of what they're paying for,
No,
but
what
not
I'm
to the second floor. I do know that.
But I'm saying, so if they were to build a second floor, they expand at whatever time, I mean, with one of your schools, if they were to do that, that might already be present, that technology, with what they already have.
Well, they're not going to be any second floor buildings in my area. That our schools are small. You know, the fact is we need to consolidate them and have more of them. But it's not a decision.
Sometimes schools are built not just because of the enrollment, but I'm saying even some smaller schools sometimes have a second story because they don't want to. I'm saying for whatever their architectural design, if they design the school and the footprint of whatever the other things around the school, and they go up instead of more horizontal, and so. Simply because of a smaller enrollment doesn't mean they don't have maybe necessarily second stories.
That tends to be the case where space is limited. But in rural Alabama, you're not going to see any second floor schools. Because
I would respectfully say that there are some smaller school systems that do have, some second levels.
Well, there's not in my 3 counties.
Well, no, I'm
But I
not
would
refuting that.
be
No, I'm not
surprised if
disagreeing
it
with what you're
was.
saying there. Yeah, no, it's fine.
It's more expensive to build up than it is to build out.
Yeah.
So,
But once again, this bill is all predicated on school funding being available.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Shelby, Representative Betso.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Baker, this is one of those times where I feel like compelled to rise to speak just a little bit because my vote may not reflect where my heart is. Certainly as a career law enforcement professional, the idea of school safety is very important to me. I remembered a time thinking I really don't like, and I would not say hate, but I hated the idea that we had to have school resource officers in schools to begin with. The whole reason and motivation for what caused this was purely the evil heart of some wrongdoers who decided to take advantage of school-age children. But what I've come to realize through time is the unintended positive benefit of having our school resource officers has created and fostered more of a sense of trust through law enforcement in the community they serve. So school resource officers have been such a positive impact. So I just kind of wanted to set that up to say, certainly with my career in law enforcement, I respect that. I also want to represent from my view as a legislator and representing my district. I have a tale of 2 districts, basically. I live in the city of Alabaster, and my home sits very close to Alabaster City Schools, a state-of-the-art high school that was built in the last few years, a very expansive campus, multi-layer, and also funding is pretty good. They have a system, as is described here, that can detail room and floor specific. They like the system, but they can afford the system. Just on Tuesday, before coming to Montgomery, I was in my district and visited Woodstock Elementary School in Bibb County. They're a small, rural, very small elementary school in the north part of Bibb County, 1 story. And I was discussing some funds I have available to assist them in any way they wanted, and they said, I realize that school safety, being in law enforcement, is something that's important to you. Would you mind if we considered using those funds for something school safety? And I said I would be absolutely thrilled with that. And they said, we would love to have one of those systems where we could push a button, but we can't afford it. We could afford the upfront purchase cost, but it is the continual maintenance to keep it going. They were concerned about when batteries die and they wouldn't be able to take care of it. It would basically be non-functional. But they could do other things. And so as we talk about funding that would be best used, things like bullet-resistant film is absolutely something they could do. And so while I appreciate and love the spirit of the bill, and it is a difficult conversation because we are talking about the safety of children in our school. No child should go to school and be fearful that someone's going to come in and do harm. I'm just worried under the construction and the wording of this bill, in districts like mine, there's schools that don't need the extra added costs that this bill would limit them to. And under specifically the definition, it says that it must be to room and floor level inside the facility. And that's a level of technology they don't need. So just with that, I mean, if there's an opportunity to still accomplish the same thing by having a plan for the future for this body to look at funding, and we've done some things already to harden schools without bringing such a restrictive product that says this legislative body is mandating that the small schools and small districts in our state have to only use it for such a very narrowly defined specific product. And so I wanted to make sure I communicated that here to the
Could you
body.
qualify narrowly defined? Because there's a number of vendors that can already meet this. There's been some, I think, misinformation shared, like there's only 1 or 2 vendors.
Yeah.
There's a number of vendors out there that provide.
Yeah, and I'm not even getting into the vendor side. At the end of the day, from my point of view as a law enforcement officer, as long as the product is effective and works,
Right.
that is fine. But if they have a product in place that is not floor and room specific, well, basically their product becomes obsolete at some point and they no longer can use it. Then they have to go out and find a vendor in which that product meets those requirements, and that will cost more money. So, you know, the schools that already have this in place but don't meet that requirement, that means they're going to have to spend more money. And so I'm concerned about that. And let me say this, if you don't mind, from my law enforcement perspective, when we have an active shooter situation, the more information we get is better. But I'll also tell you the more information that we get can be a little critical and crippling, because the information is going to be flowing really quickly and it's going to be chaos. But at the end of the day, the instruction to law enforcement in today's world is if you can get one person on scene and you begin addressing where the threat is. Now, it's going to be helpful maybe to know where the room is, where the first alarm set off, but I'm going to be listening for gunshots. And that is our training, is we're going to where we hear gunshots. So you can tell me it was coming from that room, and that's helpful, but that is not where I'm going to go. We go straight to where we hear gunshots, because you have to believe with every gunshot that is another life that's being taken. And so while that is good technology, I mean, that's room and floor specific, but I'm going to be going to where I hear the gunshots. So I'd say it's maybe not 100% necessary if we would allow a system that was more broad, that did not say they had to have room and floor specific. You would get law enforcement there fast, and they would be able to address the threat.
Thank you. Now, this is, once again, this isn't just for active shooters situation. There's all sorts of incidents. Could be health related. Once again, it could be a lab experiment on the second floor of a building and something. So some type of catastrophe with that. And so this is intended to get the most accurate and quickest response that we can to a location. And so it's not all just about a gunshot or a shooter or such as that. But I do appreciate your comments. But once again, the bill is all relative to there being funding available.
Sure, and I do, and that helps, and the amendment helps to make sure that that's relevant, but I think that it's the extra added cost down the road that maybe the funding cannot keep up with all the maintenance costs that occur, and then also the schools that already have a system in place that is adequate and fine for their environment, they would have to invest more money into buying a higher tier system, and that is just a little problematic. So I hope you received my comments in the spirit that they're intended, because I certainly do believe school safety to be very important, but I think this does place an unnecessary burden on some of our schools.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Lauderdale, Representative Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for bringing this. I appreciate your concern for the safety of the school children, but I do want to echo, I talked to both superintendents in my counties that I represent this morning, and I asked them their comments, and they said that they've already got a system. They're pleased with it. If we're willing to pay for the new system, and it's, quote, free from them, for them, they'd be glad to do
This
it.
doesn't require any school system to have to purchase a new system. If they already have this in place, then that's what it's about.
Yeah, I don't know if it meets the requirements, and that was one of my questions down there on line 54. It says the State Board of Education will develop a list of approved vendors from which each governing body may purchase approved mobile emergency rapid response systems. No vendor may be approved if the vendor manufactures any covered equipment or services as determined by the Federal Communications Service. You're familiar with that?
Well, that's what I think I explained that earlier when the bill was first up then, a week or so ago. But that is language that is required through the legal services as they develop the bill. Some things in regards to the federal government, that language was required to be inserted along with the bill based on the technology.
Okay. All right, but my concern and their concern also is the ongoing maintenance requirements of the system.
And that's why we're pushing for this. That's why with the amendment taken, subject to annual dedicated source of school safety funding. So you're right. So the funding, we want it to be there.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Question for the body now is final passage of HB 234. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine and record the votes. 58 ayes, 30 nays. HB 234 has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members of the body.
Thank you, gentlemen. Clerk, call the next bill.
On page 12 of the calendar, House Bill number 148 by Representative Pettis relating to motor vehicles.
Chairman Pettis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Currently in Alabama, any vehicle registered in Alabama has to have insurance on the vehicle. If you're from out of state, there's no requirement you to have mandatory liability insurance in Alabama. What this bill does is says you're from out of state, you still have to show proof just like a resident of Alabama does. With that, I ask for the BIR.
That's questions. Adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 99 ayes, 0 nays. BIR has been adopted. Mr. Chairman.
With that, I ask for final passage.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Montgomery, Representative Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've got a lot of people from Korea here in Alabama, you know, that come over 6 months and work with Hyundai. This wouldn't interfere with an international driver's license, would
No,
it?
it has nothing to do with driver's license. It only says the vehicle they drive in has to have insurance on it.
I just didn't know if it would prohibit them being able to get, okay.
Nope.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Van. While she's making her way down here, I'd like to recognize Jeb Scott. She is the son of Nia Scott. Let's give him a big hand. Glad to have you with us today, Jeb.
All right.
Representative Van.
My question, Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry, thank you for the recognition. It's somewhat along the lines as Representative Ingram. Someone just traveling here, doing business here, that may, you know, I know ignorance of the law is no defense.
Well, 49 states currently require mandatory insurance in the District of Columbia. New Hampshire's the only state that doesn't require insurance. Their requirement is if you don't have insurance, you got to be able to show you're financially be able to pay for a wreck if you're involved in it. So they got to have either or, but they still have to have proof that they have either or in their vehicle.
Okay, again, I'm not here standing here for or against or what have you. I'm just looking at the mechanics. I've not researched, as I've always said, if I've not treated something and looked at it. But I did have that question. And plus, since I have two bird's eyes eagles that have been positioned in this gallery all session to watch me, they're on assignment. I always want to make sure I at least get up here
Okay.
to give them what they want.
Well, I'll give you for instance. Okay, I live in Lauderdale County. I border Tennessee. If an Alabama resident and a Tennessee residents have a wreck in Lauderdale County, and neither one of them have proof of insurance, the guy from Alabama gets a ticket, the guy from Tennessee cannot get a ticket. This will put everybody on the same page as our residents of Alabama.
Okay. I just wanted to get the clarity, like I said. I think we need to have a law against employees that work for municipalities. But I'll digress. I have the opportunity to properly speak on that in short order. Just picking out the grand day that I'm going to do it. But it's amazing they don't do it when all these issues arise in the cities that they need to be focused on.
Mm-hmm.
But when they have somebody who may be running for office or what have you, everything is where they just sit here all day, pass messages, and carry notes, and tweet like little birds.
Yep. Totally understand.
Oh, yeah. I think it's really stupid because I wouldn't even have anybody sitting in the gallery if I was running for office because I wouldn't let nobody know I was that word. I don't believe I would, but I'm not everybody, and everybody doesn't think alike. Should have been doing that when that crime in Birmingham was been getting out of control for 8 years and not taking it serious. And then taking credit for the work of others when they did nothing and did not even attempt to do anything until the death toll got to about 140 something. and then would dare to do a meme of me, and then to dare to send someone to watch me. But it's okay. I appreciate the opportunity, but I just want to make sure there weren't any unintended consequences.
I don't think there is, but you know, a lot of times we don't find out till years down the road. But looking at this, I don't think there's any unintended consequences.
So now, because I guess for me also, I thought if they stopped somebody, the state trooper or whoever, law enforcement stopped someone, that they would be, you know, stopping them. They would be asking for insurance anyway. I've never heard of anyone saying, if I'm from out of town, you don't have to have insurance. I guess that's the thing for me, because I thought because most of the time, well, and I guess on rental cars, I guess you have an option of getting insurance.
Yeah, or your insurance if you're
So
on
would
your
that
vehicle
insurance
covers it.
count if
Yes.
you have the rental insurance?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm just curious. I'm just sitting up here just thinking about all these unintended, like potholes everywhere. Now you got a dump zone for people to go dump. No, hire people. Take this message back. Tell them I said it. Y'all can look up, you hear me? That's why you sitting on the front row. I always say, don't try me, try Jesus. But I have appreciation for the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I made my point.
Here, thanks,
It's
lady.
real clear.
What's for the body now is final passage of HB 148. Clerk unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk lock the machine, record the vote. 102 ayes, 0 nays. HB 148 is passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members.
gentlemen. Clerk, call next bill.
On page 36 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 222 with substitute by Senator Hatcher relating to medical clinic board.
Reverend Ingram, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What this bill does is allow the hospitals to restructure and be able to allow them to file bankruptcy so they will not close. And then for that, I ask for the BR.
Next question for the body's adoption of the BR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 103 ayes, 0 nays. The BR has been adopted.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr.
ask for
Chairman.
final passage.
Next question, final passage of SB 220. Oh, okay, I'm seeing a substitute on this. Mr. Chairman, we got a substitute on this bill.
Oh, yes, sir.
You care to explain your substitute?
Let's see, it must have been substituted in the Senate. So, hold on one second, Mr. Speaker. Let me grab my stuff. It was just a cleanup substitute on liability, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, you heard the explanation of substitute. Question for the body is adoption of the substitute. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote.
Yeah.
Clerk will lock the machine, record the votes. 100 ayes, 0 nays. Substitute has been adopted.
Ask final passage.
That's question, final passage of SB 222. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 102 ayes, 0 nays. SB 222 as substitute has
Thank you, Mr.
passed.
Speaker.
Thank you, gentlemen. Clerk, call the next bill.
On page 23 of the calendar, House Bill number 327 by Representative Shaver relating to state employees.
Chair Lady Shavers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. HB 327 is the paid parental leave bill. And if the members will remember last year, the bill that I brought was just for state employees only. and that bill passed unanimously from this body, went to the Senate. Senator Figures was carrying a bill to do the same for education employees. So when the bills were together in the Senate, the sentiment was that they should be merged so that the benefits would mirror each other. And we worked towards that last year and had a bill which was first on the calendar of the Senate in the last day, which did not make it. So we started the bill this year and very happy to have Governor Ivey's support on this bill. So this particular bill combines both the benefit for state employees and teachers. Some further explanation, it's 8 weeks on birth, miscarriage after 12 weeks, stillbirth after 20 weeks, and adoption for a child age 3 and under, and 2 weeks for the father. Mr. Speaker, I move for the BIR.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, for clarity's sake.
Yes, ma'am.
For the leave that's being allocated, I know under the federal paid leave, we have to have either sick leave or annual leave that we could use. So is that going to be structured some way for them? Or
no.
can they go to the pool if they don't have leave there?
This replaces the donated leave.
Right.
Donated leave. It replaces that. It runs concurrently with FMLA, which is unpaid leave.
Right.
And if they have sick leave or annual leave, they do not have to deplete that before
they could use
the parental leave. Correct.
Okay. Okay.
And so it's only available once every 365 days. Only one benefit per 365 days.
Them they having them babies back to back, they gonna have some problems, ain't it? I got a little niece like that, so she gonna have to skip a year.
Well, actually, yeah, it's impossible pretty much to have more than one baby within 12 months. It might be possible,
9
but only
months
one
apart.
benefit.
9 months and a couple days.
But the birth would be after another 365 days.
I just wanted to clear that up because I know how ours was set up, that you could get the leave without pay, but if you had your sick leave and your annual leave that you wanted to take so that you can have some leave, get some pay, you could do that. But you're saying they don't have to exhaust their leave.
They do not.
Before they can apply for this part.
Correct. With family medical leave, you have to exhaust your other leave first and then go to the unpaid leave. This timing runs concurrently with FMLA, but they do not have to exhaust any other leave first. They can save those sick days for when that baby gets here and might be sick.
My teachers, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair thanks the lady. Chair recognizes the lady from Macon, Representative Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Lady,
Certainly.
I think it's a great bill. I think the only thing that frightens me is what is the fiscal note on this? Because we're hiring more younger people, more baby-bearing people. This should be a heavy fiscal note. What's your fiscal note on this?
Well, there's no way to predict. We can only, look at averages, but actually, someone's salary is already budgeted. So if they were taking unpaid leave and then now to be paid for that, it's a potential savings that would be realized if they took the unpaid leave versus paying them their salary.
It's just like the regular budgeted slot.
Yes.
That money will cover what this money is what you're doing here.
Now, there could be some additional cost For state employees, not every position would have to have a replacement, like a schoolroom teacher. So not every position would have to be backfilled. Usually other employees pick up the slack when somebody's out. But already, people are taking this leave, and those subs are already being hired. It's just changing the way the employee's being paid.
Because that was the frightening part to me. I said, now, is this...
And there's a reporting requirement in here that annually a report be given about how many people take the leave so that we can, monitor and track those costs.
That would be
once
good, so
once
we
it's
can
utilized.
See where we are.
Yes, there's some accountability in there to track how it's being
All right,
utilized.
because some of them might just start having babies so they can stay off work, and don't have to work. It sounds good. It's very supportive. I just want to make sure it's not abused, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Chair thanks the lady. Question for the body is adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock machine. The members will vote. Clerk will lock machine. Record the vote. 100 ayes, 2 nays. BR has been adopted. Madam Chair.
Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment. You need two.
Clerk, see the amendment.
Amendment to House Bill number 327 by Representative Shaver.
Here to explain your amendment, please.
The bill was amended in the Senate to specify that this benefit applies to Alabama Community College employees, Alabama Institute of the Deaf and Blind, and all the other specialty schools are included under local boards of education, but it's amended to make sure that those were included.
Okay, you heard the explanation of the amendment. Clerk will unlock the machine, and then the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 99 ayes, 0 nays. The amendment has been adopted. Madam Chair.
Mr. Speaker, at this time, I make a motion to substitute SB 199 for HB 327.
Motion prevails.
I move for the BIR.
That is question is adoption of the BIR. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 100 ayes, 2 nays. The BR has been adopted. Madam Chair.
Mr. Speaker, before I make a motion for final passage, I would like to take a moment to thank Senator Figures for her work on this bill. And also I wanted to mention Representative Debbie Wood, who had the companion bill in the House. And once they got married, the bills got married together. She did not get to carry the bill. So I wanted to mention her because she did support this bill and did a lot of research and work on it. And not to leave out the governor, because I really appreciate Governor Ivey's support. She is definitely pro-family and continues to prove it, and I do appreciate her support on this bill. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move for final passage.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Jefferson, Chairman Carnes.
I don't understand some of the background here. How many sick leave days are per year right now for the employees?
For teachers, they earn 1 a month.
1 a month. So 12 a year, or is it 13? I
10.
was told 13.
10.
10? Okay, so after 10 years, if they don't get sick, they've got 100 days built up. Is that correct?
If they don't use it, yes, sir.
Isn't this sick leaves kind of for emergencies like this to build up? Because I've seen employees, and I don't regret it, but I've seen employees retire a year or so early by having built up sick leave days and then never use them, so that allows them to leave early.
This leave does not accrue.
Pardon?
This leave does not accrue. This paid parental leave does not accrue. If it's not used, it's just lost. It cannot be donated. It cannot be rolled over in any way. It does not count for retirement benefits. The problem is you've got teachers and young people, when they first get employed, they do not, they're not there long enough to accrue all those days. It takes years for that. And so they're having, children in their early years. And that's exactly the reason we need this bill, because it's a recruiting tool. The governor had a task force on government efficiency, in state government, chaired by Treasurer Boozer. This was the number one recommendation they made coming out of that committee to recruit and retain state employees because we are losing them at such great numbers. We are in competition with private businesses, and many large corporations offer this benefit. The federal government does, the city of Birmingham does. Every state around us except for Mississippi offers this benefit to their teachers and state employees. So we're in competition for those. We need to recruit and retain young people. And to help families, this is a pro-family bill. You know, people should not be put in a financial hardship just because they want to start a family. So, you know, we say we're pro-life, but people say we don't care about them after they're born, and this is showing that we do, because we are giving the mothers and the fathers time to properly bond with those babies and the children when they're adopted. And so it's a very pro-family bill, and we want to support families. And so that's what we're trying to do.
Well, you know, I think anybody that's seen me down here knows that I'm pro-family.
Absolutely.
And have been. I'm also for making sure that our tax dollars are used properly, but there is a runway right now for these days to be used on situations such as this. That would be their
well, it's unpaid. Actually, family leave was added to catastrophic leave, and this replaces that, and that was for 2 weeks. So this leave strikes family leave from catastrophic leave. It would take some kind of an extraordinary circumstance, a severe problem then with the pregnancy, you know, to be able to utilize that catastrophic leave if needed. This replaces that.
Well, I know a lot's gone into this, and it's going to pass, obviously. But I think we, as a body, need to make sure when we extend the runways on situations like this that we look at the full picture, because these are some possible unintended consequences that when we did the 12 or 13 days, whatever, 10 days, whatever you say, that was built for a situation such as this when that was passed originally, in my opinion.
Well, it takes more than 10 days to recover from having a baby.
It does,
and
but
babies get sick and have to go to the doctor.
After 3 years, you got 30 days. So.
And my daughter has 2 children. When she had her second child, she had complications with her pregnancy and had to be hospitalized. She's a 3rd grade teacher.
Sure.
And she had to be hospitalized before her baby was born, used up all of her leave. And so then when she did have the baby, he had complications, had to go to the NICU, ended up having surgery. And she did not want to ask for donated leave. You know, she had used up all her leave. So she took unpaid leave, had to pay all of her benefits. Their family's insurance was through her, so she had to, you know, pay all of her insurance. And so that really showed me how we have a need for this, you know, to support women and families and babies, and I think it's well worth our money. I think this is a good use of state money to support children and families.
Look, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate your explanation of this. Point I'm trying to make is that this is going to pass. Future items that come up like this, and I know you've researched this quite a bit, and I know it's near and dear to your heart, and I am pro-education, I'm pro-school teacher, I'm pro-state employee. But
sounds like you're voting for the bill.
That's why I'm asking questions. Good point. Lady in pink, good point. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Hale, Representative Travis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With a later year,
Yes.
I just want to rise to kind of give you thanks for working with this bill. You know, many people don't know it as I was in a situation as a single father. I lost my wife to breast cancer when my children were 3 and 6. Before she passed, you know, there were many times, you know, where we had to do travel to MD Anderson, travel to other hospitals, try to deal with the treatment. Fortunately, I had a job, you know, where I had sick leave days. I could take it and stuff like that. But then I continued raising my children who were age 3 and 6 as a single father up until this day. People don't quite understand until you get into situations. Fortunately, you know, it wouldn't apply to me in this situation, but, you know, we need to make sure, because there's so much of unknown. And as, you know, as an individual, as a father who's sitting in a situation that's typically not usual, I'm just so proud that we are at least looking out for our future. I have a daughter now who's a 3rd grade teacher, and as she indicated, as young people, even though they gain sick leave days, they do get sick. You know, and if they are in the situation so where pregnancy and stuff like that, there are complications. Matter of fact, it seems to be more complications now than it used to be. And some of that may be stress related, whatever, any healthcare needs. So if we can do things and let our employees know, include our state health employees knowing that we value what they're going through, that we can try to help relieve a burden and to help make these situations more, you know, to you and more fair, more equally, and coming from your standpoint, this is absolutely the right thing to do. And so I'm just so thankful that we are willing, and I'm coming from a man's standpoint, not from women who have seen some things in life, who have went through these witnesses, you know, just knowing how these situations could be, you know, so helpful. So on behalf of all our state employees, particularly, and I know it kind of leans a little bit more in this situation towards the female, but also from a father who had to be a mother, I just want to thank you for the standpoint that we are willing to look out for our employees and look out for the future of the state of Alabama, because as older employees retire, we got bringing in young employees to help fill these positions and stuff like that, and we need to offer every opportunity to let them know that this is part of the benefit for working for the great state of Alabama. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. I appreciate your comments.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes the lady from Baldwin, Representative Fiddler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just had a question. I noticed on line 219, it says, any unused parental leave may not be used to calculate an eligible employee's retirement benefits.
Correct.
What about the used personal leave? I didn't see where, does that go to?
Yes, they're still, when they're being paid, yeah, and so if they didn't take the whole 8 weeks, only for the portion that they use.
Okay, so if they use it, it gets to be
if they're-
contributed to their employee's
Right,
retirement
those days still count
benefits.
towards their retirement,
But
right.
if they
But if they
take,
don't use all the leave, any unused leave of this kind of leave has no value at all towards their retirement.
okay, so the question I think I have is if an employee says, oh, I only need 6 weeks, but it's beneficial for me to take 2 more weeks of parental leave, because if I don't, I lose that retirement.
No, because they're going to go back to work and they'll be being counted, those days when they're working
still
will be
count.
counted. Mhm.
So, but it's
Yeah.
like an incentive to stay at home with the child, because it's going to be a contributing factor with the retirement systems of Alabama.
It's going to be the same either way.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair thanks the lady. Chair recognizes the lady from Chambers, Representative Woods.
Would the lady yield?
Certainly.
You know, when this started, I think I had a passion and you had a passion. And I think we have an opportunity in this body to champion things, but it takes all of us working together. And I remember Chairman Garrett took me in his office and showed me his little plaque, and it says, much can be accomplished if we don't all want the credit. And I thank you for that. And I thank you for what you've done.
Thank you.
Chair thanks the lady. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Lauderdale, Representative Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have talked, Jenny,
We did.
and about this bill. The problem I have 5 grandkids and 1 on the way, and all of the daughters had to take off and without paid leave. And you've said this is used as a recruitment tool. But to me, just think about this. We are using taxpayer dollars back from the private sector, and we're using that money to recruit employees away from the private sector to fill these jobs. And I know it's an emotional issue. It's not, but I've had calls from employers saying, hey, why are you voting to give government employees 2 months of paid leave when I can't afford that for my employees? And so I appreciate the intent to help families, but that's where families come into play, that we help our children. None of my children needed any financial help, but it was a hardship on them to go 2 months without being paid. But I think it's unfair to employers in the private sector to be competing and giving benefits that typically they can't afford to pay. I know there's some corporate.
There's a bunch.
And there's
BBVA
federal
Compass,
government.
Baker Donaldson, Maynard Cooper, Protective Life, University of Alabama, Regions, EBSCO, Boeing, Alpha, Alabama
banks.
Power Company.
Yep.
I mean, we're in competition with them. We need quality employees working for the state too.
Yeah.
And so all of the surrounding states around us and have it except for us in Mississippi, y'all, and I just want to leave Mississippi in the dust another time. So, but yes,
Okay.
but many employers do offer this, and we are in competition for good employees.
And it's a voluntary. They can do that
For
voluntarily.
private employers, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do think it's just a disadvantage to people, small business leaders that cannot afford this type of compensation.
And we're not making them. It's their choice, but we're talking about state employees and teachers, which we do have control
Right.
over, and offering that benefit.
Yeah.
So it is up to them, and hopefully it'll encourage them to look for ways to help families when they're having children so that they don't have to suffer financially like your daughters did, because it is a hardship.
Well, I mean.
That's what we're trying to remove.
Yeah.
The hardship and trying to promote families.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, thanks, gentlemen. Question for the body now is final passage of SB 199. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the votes. 94 ayes, 2 nays, 2 abstentions. SB 199 passes. Congratulations.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, member.
Clerk, call the next bill.
On page 21 of the calendar, House Bill number 285 with substitute by Representative Keel relating to traffic infractions.
Representative Keel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill we had last year, it passed the House last year, and like so many others, died the Senate on the last day. This bill, if members will remember, deals with minors who get a traffic infraction. Your child could be driving your car, burning your gas, using your insurance, and you're liable for them. They could get pulled over and get a traffic ticket, and you would never know about it. My child that drives, she works her own job, and she could pay her own ticket, and I would never know it. And so I think parents should know it. I think they should be able to correct their children and do what they're supposed to do, be parents. So, Mr. Speaker, I call for the BIR.
That is questions. Adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the votes. 98 ayes, 2 nays. The BR has been adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's a sub, and the sub, it simply says that an attempted telephone call is all the notification that must be given. That's what the sub does.
Carry the explanation of the sub. You want to talk on the sub or the bill? Okay. Let's go ahead and pass this sub first. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the votes. 99 ayes, 1 nay. Substitute has been adopted. Representative Keel.
I think there's an amendment. I move final passage at appropriate
Okay.
time.
Chair recognizes the lady from Baldwin, Representative Holt Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Got an amendment.
Clerk, see the amendment.
Amendment to House Bill number 285 by Representative Hulk Jones.
You care to explain your amendment, please?
Yes, sir. On line number 6, replace line 35 to add text messages or letter sent via United States mail.
It's a friendly amendment.
Okay, you've heard the explanation of the amendment. Sponsor sees it as a friendly amendment. The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the votes. 99 ayes, 0 nays. The floor amendment has been adopted.
Thank you, body. If I could just add to this, I've been waiting 25 years for this, so thank you very much.
I know you have.
Thank the lady.
Move final passage.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And even though I got my light on late, my concern, and I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate the amendment that's coming. My concern is that with the way the Postal Service work now, I don't know if there's a time frame the contact has to be made. And to give you an example, something was mailed to me in December. Until I realized, the person said, well, did you ever get the notification? This is the month of March.
Sure.
And until the person called, then I started going to all the post offices. I said, well, can you just look at my address and see if there was some mail that probably was destroyed or for some reason couldn't be delivered? Oh, no, we didn't have none of that. The very next day, I got a letter, the one I asked about, that was mailed to me in December, and I received it in March.
Very inefficient.
So I just wonder what time frame would be for you trying to contact it. But I understand the whole process is good. It's just that I'm saying this, and I'm hoping somebody with the Postal Service is listening and understand they got to do better about delivering mail. So
I hope
thank
they're
you
listening.
so much.
I sure do. Thank you.
Chair thanks the lady. Question for the body now is final passage of HB 285. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the votes. 96 ayes, 3 nays, 1 abstention. HB 285 is passed as substituted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Kill for a point of personal privilege.
I just want to say about that bill, once it's passed, after it's passed, I want to share the story, the nexus behind that bill. A young man was killed in a car accident. He and his girlfriend were killed in a car accident. Neither of them had their seatbelts on. His mother was later cleaning out things from his bedroom and found 3 seatbelt tickets from when he was a minor. And she never knew that he got those tickets and had no way of knowing that, never had an opportunity to try to discipline her son. And who knows if it would have actually helped. But I would like to at least talk to my daughter about a traffic violation before that happens to her. That's what's behind this bill. I appreciate the body supporting the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank the gentleman. Clerk, call the next bill.
On page 39 of the calendar, House Bill number 384 by Representative Crawford relating to food enrichment.
Chairman Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Appreciate the recognition. HB 384 deals with trying to lower birth defects. Under our current law, bread, fiber, oatmeal, grits, and things like that are enriched with folic acid, and the reason for that was because of birth defects. There is an area of that group that is not enriched, and that's corn mesa. Cohen Massa, excuse me. And this will enrich that. There's about 1,600 babies a year born with spinal bifida, and the majority of those are Hispanics. The Children's Hospital in Birmingham is supporting this bill and did a lot of work on this bill, and they think it would have a savings on the taxpayers in Alabama. With that, I ask for the BIR.
That is questions. Adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine and record the vote. 97 ayes, 0 nays. The BIR has been adopted, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, there is an amendment that corrects a word that was left out.
Have you got it?
Representative Halsey.
Okay. Chair recognizes the lady from Shelby, Representative Halsey.
Speaker. I have an amendment that what it's going to do is it's going to replace line 105 on page 4 with the following, and we're adding this because these words were accidentally left out, so we're just making sure that we put them back into the bill, but it will clarify and say a grocery store offering conforming products.
Clerk, say the amendment.
Amendment to House Bill number 384 by Representative Halsey.
You heard the explanation of the amendment. Amendment or the bill? Mr. Jackson? Okay. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the votes. 92 ayes, 0 nays. The amendment has been adopted. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Clark, Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. I just want to commend the gentleman for bringing this bill, and I want to commend you all for sticking with science. Science saves lives, and it prevents deaths if we apply it in the proper manner. But I'm glad to see that you're standing up for that, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Morgan, Representative Yarborough.
Thank you, the recognition. I just have a concern with this bill because I have family and friends have what's called MTHFR gene mutation, and there's serious debate in regards to folic versus folate acid. And people who have that gene mutation cannot properly assimilate folic acid, and it leads to a buildup of toxins in their body. And so, whereas there are prenatal vitamins and minerals and things that people can get who have a concern for birth defects, my concern is that by mandating this in food supply, there's a pretty large number of Americans, because they have that gene mutation, that it could actually lead to a buildup of toxins in their body. So I know the floor isn't, I guess, the place for that medical debate, but there's a lot of people that will affect adversely by, I think, mandating stuff in our food supply can have unintended consequences to a significant portion of our people. So anyway, I have some concerns about the bill, but I just wanted to express those. So
Yes. Well, folic acid is the recommended supplement. They're in all your multivitamins. They're already in your light bread and everything else you're eating, and they're just not in the Cohen Massa.
Sure. Well, there's a very lively debate among OBGYNs and doctors and food professionals, as well as other people in the medical and food industry, about folic versus folate acid, and which has led to the whole discussion with the MTHFR gene mutation. So, and again, I've got, it's a fairly common problem, and I've got a lot of family and friends who are affected by that. So, but anyway, so I just wanted to speak.
All right, thank you.
Their concerns.
Thank you.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For clarity's sake, your bill is saying in the corn mesa, there's not enough folic acid in it?
It's not enriched. I'm not an expert on this, but based on pregnancies, planned pregnancies, you go through all those supplements that you're getting folic acid. Unplanned pregnancies, you need it in the very first part of that pregnancy.
But you know, you need folic acid anyway. I have to take it every day because I'm on the types of medication I'm on. It prevents me from itching and scratching all day for the type of folic acid I have to take. So I'm just concerned that you're saying they need additional folic acid in when they are using this food
Yes.
product.
Dr. Blunt at Children's, who's the pediatric neurosurgeon that's worked with this, and then Dr. Hobson, who's the research person with the spina bifida, said certain people do not make enough in their body. And that's where the problem comes in.
So if their body's not making enough, but what you did is mention this food product.
A supplement, if they start taking the prenatal supplements and all, then they get this. But
So the food you're saying, but the way this reads is that the food that they're eating does not have enough folic acid in it, and so that whatever the spinal bifida, they are getting it because they don't have sufficient folic acid.
that's right.
And what these doctors want is some type of supplement for them to be able to have sufficient amount.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And particularly Hispanics with their food
So you're
types.
trying to do some preventive health care by ensuring, I don't know, ensuring that if they're eating this product, that if they're eating it on a regular basis, I would think, that they're taking some type of supplement that would add the additional folic acid that is believed that they need.
Correct.
Okay.
The vitamin B9.
Well, yeah, I have, you know, you have the pure folic, the folic acid is usually mixed with something else that they could take also as a supplement. If that's what the situation is that they need more.
That's right.
Thank you. I just needed that clarity
All right, thank you.
on if it was just that if they eating a lot, and maybe it's cultural that they eat a lot of this product. So that's why you would come up with the conclusion that it could be one of the reasons they're suffering
Exactly.
from this illness. Okay.
Exactly. Thank you.
Chair thanks the lady. Chair recognizes the lady from Montgomery, Representative Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With the gentleman yield.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Why corn massa? Why are we putting out of all the foods? Why corn massa?
Well, all the other flours have it. You know, your cornmeals, your white flours, and those things, they're already enriched with this. But that product is not.
So there's an opportunity for them to get it if they choose the other cornmeal, right?
Or take a supplement. That's
Or
correct.
take a supplement. So I'm still back to,
And then if it's excessive, the body expels it out of the body.
but because it's a cultural thing, right? So it's a cultural thing. So if that's something that they actually have, because I don't eat corn massa, right? And if it's something that they already have and that they've been eating, why would we make that decision to infuse or enrich their cornmeal out of all the other foods that they eat? Because that's a cultural food, right? So why are we making that decision to enrich just the corn massa with that? And how do we know that that's what they need?
You know, based on Children's Hospital, who's the regional Southeast expert on spina bifida, they say this will help with lowering that birth rate, or that birth defect problem. Because some do not get enough in their body.
Okay, I just don't think that we should be dabbing in that portion of science to tell them what it is that they should be eating and how you should infuse it when it's already been out on the market. And if it's science, take hair relaxers, for example, right? So hair relaxers is a cultural thing. It's for black hair, right? So then later comes out that the relaxers are causing cancer, breast cancer. But they went and did a campaign, did ads, did all of the what they needed to make sure that we understood what was happening. But if we choose to still put it inside our hair, that's on us. But we giving you and letting you know what the problem is. I just don't think that that's something that we should be doing to tell them, besides having a campaign, because you're about to change their food with folic acid. And I'm gonna go back to what Representative Yarbrough said. What if they have whatever gene that is that he said, and you add this to it and they don't know, and now all of them become sick, and it does something different than what it's saying. Not saying that the science on it is right or wrong, but I'm just saying for us to target corn massa out of all the foods to say that this is what they need to get folic acid with, when you have other foods and other supplements that you could get folic acid from. I just think that we are running down a slope that we're about to change some things, and then you get a whole bunch of people that may have what it is that Representative Yarbrough said, and next thing you know, everybody's sick, and we got a big lawsuit because you enriched their cornmeal with something, right?
Well, all I know is the doctors say that you expel it out of your body. There's no such thing as toxicity to folic acid.
Okay, so if the doctors are saying it, is it another way for them to actually go to the I guess the people that actually make the cornmeal, to have them to infuse it? Why are we making them infuse it?
We've already done it because of birth defects, and that seemed like that's the area they addressed, and it's been successful.
But I get what you're saying, that it's been successful for the folic acid, right? But my thing is, why are we, as legislators, making it mandatory that they infuse the cornmeal with folic acid? That seemed like something that would be done on the FDA sector or something, and not for us. But why are we, as legislators, doing it? And
well, the FDA has agreed to what was done on cornmeal, flours, grits, all those kind of things. All that was a recommendation. So this adds to that group of foods.
But wouldn't the FDA have the right to make that?
I do not know about FDA.
That's the thing. That's why I'm trying to figure out, why are we as legislators
We've
making
done it before
for the corn massa to be enriched with folic acid?
Yes, we are amending a bill we passed to add that to it. So, and we've already done cornmeal, flour, those kind of things.
I get that, and they have an opportunity when they walk down the aisle to pick up Martha White or White Lily, but they choose corn massa, right? So again, we are the Alabama House of Representatives, We have a FDA that's out there. And if it's dealing with food, that should be something that they deal with and not us. But I thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Chair thanks the lady. Question for the body now is final passage of HB 384. Clerk will unlock the machine and members will vote.
Know it.
Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 91 ayes, 7 nays. HB 384 has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and
Thanks,
members of the
gentlemen.
body.
Mr. Clerk, let's call up SB 25 out of the basket, please. Before you do that, I'd like to recognize a Fairfield City Council member, Cedric Newton. I think it's Norman, Cedric Norman, the guest of Travis Hindris and Kevin Datcher. Mr. Clerk.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, the Senate has received the accompanying message from Her Excellency the Governor proposing an amendment to the bill, Senate Bill 25, relating to community development districts.
Representative Wharton, you're recognized. Chair recognizes Leader Stathagen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just recommend concurrence.
Care to explain what it is, what it does?
I'm reading, sir.
Okay. Yeah. That's pretty slick.
Applies to Coleman County only. Allows local legislation delegation to distribute contain alcohol revenue from community developed districts. That's it.
It's an executive amendment from the governor. Is that what it is, or is it?
No, sir. Just applies to the Coleman County only. It allows local legislative delegation to distribute certain alcohol revenues from community development districts.
Okay, so my understanding,
It is an executive amendment. I'm sorry.
by the governor that's already been
Yes, sir.
concurred by the Senate, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay,
That wasn't on my paper for the record.
that's okay, that's okay. You're on the fly, you're good.
Without my glasses for the record.
Representative Van, you want to talk on a Coleman County bill? You making a motion to concur?
Yes, sir.
Clerk will unlock the machine and members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 83 ayes, 0 nays. Concurrence has happened.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Mobile, Pro Tem Pringle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Somebody left their glasses here. Next Tuesday, April the 1st, April Fool's Day, we will meet at 1 o'clock. It is Future Farmers of America Day, so please remember to wear your blue and yellow. And with that, I move the House stand in adjournment.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.